Make sure you download the Woodward Sports app in the App Store and the Google Play Store today. Take Woodward Sports with you wherever you go and listen live on your phone or mobile device.
And good morning to you. Welcome to the Morning Woodward Show, live on woodwardsports.com. My name is Stick, filling in for Adham, who we think is dying.
Yeah, he's been struggling last week or so, and he pushed through last week, but finally came to an end after the playoff weekend. He's I don't know if it was Doug Peterson winning or what, but he's struggling.
Yeah, was there like a take that he would have had to flip-flop on today that he didn't want it, like... Because, you know, some people run from those things. They're like, oh, I got to be on. I don't want to take that heat. But I don't see Adham running.
Honestly, it was the Chargers take. We talked Friday, and he said he had the Chargers in the I believe he had in the AFC title game. And then Brandon Staley happened, and now he's MIA. So I would assume it's the Chargers.
Or maybe he's out there just trying to keep Ben Johnson hostage and not interviewing for any more teams.
Either that, or... the fact that I called the Vikings frauds, and he didn't disagree, but he said, no, I'm going to go with the Vikings. The Giants just don't have enough talent.
Ooh,
and
there
what
it
happened?
is.
The frauds. I tried telling you.
So if you're playing along at home in the woodwardsports.com chat, why don't you guess where Adham is and what is keeping him from work today? We can have some fun with that. People already checking in. And first and foremost, we got to get to Ryan Wooden. Yeah. His mother passed away over the weekend. We send our complete condolences. I lost my father about 5 years ago. Losing a parent is... it's impossibly hard, but things do get better. And so, Ryan, everybody in the chat sending you condolences, and we are doing the same. It's also Martin Luther King Day, and we are live at Feldman in Novi. Martin Luther King, obviously, there's not enough superlatives to say about that guy. Everything that he did, everything that he accomplished, the unity that he brought to this country. I always, on this day, reflect to think about, man, we could use a leader like that now.
Yeah, he was responsible for a lot of progress. Now, still a lot of progress to be made, and you're starting to see that more and more. But the fact that we're here in Feldman, brand new Camaro, by the way, behind Alex and Fish. You guys can't see it, but it's absolutely beautiful. White, new, beautiful Camaro. Man, I'm jealous. I'm about to get my Chevy Equinox when I leave here and dream about that.
How do you
Camaro.
not?
But yes, Martin Luther King Day, playoff weekend. Wild card weekend, and I couldn't help but think over the weekend, man, the Lions were in here. There's probably about 3 or 4 teams I think confidently the Lions could beat.
3 or 4? To me, there was only one team that played this weekend that I don't think the Lions could have beat.
Who is it?
The San Francisco 49ers.
You know what? That's fair.
And that's honestly, that would have been their first round matchup too. Yeah. So, part of me when I was sitting there this weekend watching football, I was just like every other Lions fan, upset that they weren't in it. But also, like, if you're not going to make it, the way the Lions didn't make it is probably the best way of not making it. Because you're ending on a high note no matter what, right? If you go into the playoffs and you get your teeth kicked in like we saw to the Seattle Seahawks, what did they gain out of that playoff? Honestly,
well,
what did they gain? Nothing.
And I know Ryan talked about that too, and although I see what you guys are saying, I still disagree. I think the playoff, even though you lose, yes, you're not coming off of a win, just to be involved, to play 1 week later in the regular season, out into the playoff season, just to get that experience, I think it'd be huge for the young players. And I think that's probably what Seattle would take away, some of the rookies, is like they played on the stage. But you're absolutely right. In terms of morale, there's no team that came off into the offseason more confident, I think, than the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, and it's a good building block, and it's also, you can put that chip on your shoulder, too, like we should have been there. Because to your point, I'm watching those games yesterday. Lions could have beat everybody. Everybody.
Yeah.
Who couldn't they have beaten yesterday?
I think I would probably agree with you. I think just the 49ers. Even tonight, the Bucs, I think the Lions would beat the Bucs, even at home. And the Cowboys, I think we'd give them a game. And I think they could probably beat the Cowboys. So, hey, but that's the point, though. I mean, you're 1-6. Some of those games that were so close, like not forcing a punt against Seattle, they come back to bite them. But they ended the season 8-2. They did everything. I mean, although you lost to the Carolina Panthers, and that was probably the sword in the heart at the end of the season, you're still confident for next season. I think no doubt. After watching the Vikings, the Lions should be the favorite next year. I mean, I don't care what they did this regular season. You have a team that's 8-1 at home, and they lose to the Giants, who are like 500 on the road. Speaks volumes.
And that's one thing that we're definitely going to get into later on in today's show is talking about the NFC North and just how it's pretty much wide open. And the Lions are now the most stable team in the NFC North. Like, you look at the Vikings. Do you trust the Vikings in any capacity?
No.
No. You look at the Packers. Do you trust the Packers to make the right move, or do you trust Aaron Rodgers to take his $60 million and gut that team still? You're going to take that $60 million, gut that team still. Justin Fields, is he the quarterback of the future? Maybe your running back of the future, but I don't see him improving throwing anytime soon.
No.
So the NFC North is for the taking.
And on top of that, too, every team, you look at the future, look at the assets the Lions have. I mean, I think that's the biggest part, right? The assets, the young players that are getting better. Chicago has a ton of money. They have assets, but still, it's going to take them more than a year. They're not going to go, I'll tell you what, they're not going to go from worst to first like the Jaguars. I can assure you that. The Vikings, they're in cap hell. The Packers are in cap hell. If we're talking about future, the Lions have the brightest future. With assets, cap, they have probably the best quarterback going into next season if Aaron Rodgers, whether he's there or not. I think Jared Goff's the best in the NFC North. So you got all those things going for you. What can the Lions do with it? And a lot of the young players, Houston, Aiden Hutchinson, Kirby, they'll still be here next year. And they're only getting better. Lions, to me, they should be the favorite to win next year, considering they're 5-1 in their own division. I mean, for a 9-8 record to be 5-1 in your own division, I think that speaks volumes. Because if we're talking about the NFC North, the Lions took care of business. It was outside of the NFC North where they lost some of those games, but no doubt they're beating their divisional opponents. Dan Campbell showed us that this year.
Well, we're definitely going to get into a ton of Lions talk in the second hour coming up after 9 a.m. We're going to talk about Amon-Ra St. Brown. He took to Twitter and responded to one of our WoodwardSports.com tweets about a current teammate that he would like to keep, and that's something that we need to discuss. Also got to talk about the Lions being able to win the NFC North next year. We just kind of touched on that. Well, let's talk about the games over the weekend, man, because my weekend was filled with nothing but football. It was fantastic. I absolutely love it. Fish came in this morning. He's like, hey, did you watch any of the games, or did you just, because the Lions aren't playing, do you not care? And I'm like, no. It's playoff football.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if anything will match last year's playoff football. Like, last year's NFL playoffs were insane, but this weekend was pretty damn good.
Yeah, a lot of close games. I think that was the most surprising thing to me. I mean, the big discussion was you have two backup quarterbacks. You got Huntley, Skylar Thompson. Like, these games should pretty much take care of themselves, but no, they weren't. They were actually way closer. I mean, the Bills game, Josh Allen throwing interceptions. Dolphins almost snuck out with that one, with Skylar playing as bad as he did. And then you had Tyler Huntley and the Ravens almost take down the Bengals after the last week of the regular season, then pretty much just roll out with a vanilla playbook, just didn't even give a damn. And then you follow it up with a playoff game where they almost took down the Bengals. So two teams that I had going a little farther in the playoffs, they almost lost in the first game, the playoffs. So it was a bunch of close games over the weekend. I think if you're talking playoff football, this is what you want to see. Like for the Chargers, for example, to be up 27-0 and still find a way to lose that game.
Yeah,
it's appalling. I mean, you had Trevor Lawrence who the first 4 possessions of the game, I believe, were interception, punt, interception, and they still come back. Trevor Lawrence, resilient as hell, finds a way to win that ball game. But I think that was more on Brandon Staley, if I had to tell you the truth.
Trevor Lawrence was the real-life human version of the Detroit Lions season, all in one game.
Yes.
That's exactly what he was. He threw 4 interceptions in the first half, but to his credit, to Doug Peterson's credit, and with the help of Staley, not exactly being aggressive there in the second half, that Jaguars win was something special, man. I was sitting in a garage in Waterford watching the game with a bunch of my dudes, and one guy, I believe I texted this to our group chat, when they got up 27-0 right before the end of the first half, the gambling that came into play, like I'm not a huge gambler, but I even thought, okay, the Jags are plus 1550 right now. Plus 1550 right now. And that was when they were down 27-0. And I text our group chat with Woodward Sports, and I said, hey, guys, plus 1550 right now. Get in before this touchdown, before the end of the first half. And what happens? Boom. 2 plays later, the Jags score a touchdown. Now it's a 20-point game. You can go into halftime talking about how we're only down 3 touchdowns. Like, the total tone of that game changed on that touchdown right before the end of the first half, and then it just kept happening. A lot of people like to blame the refs for that game. I already saw that in the WoodwardSports.com chat. Do you You think the refs really were a big part of that game?
No, I don't think so. I mean, blowing a 27-0 lead, I don't think you can blame that on the refs. What I'll blame it on, and this goes back to the last week of the regular season, this is why you don't play your starters when you've already clinched the playoffs. Now, quarterbacks, I would probably, differ from that. Like, for example, the Bucs. They played Tom Brady for a portion of that last game before the playoffs. I get that. You want to get your quarterback in rhythm. But to play Mike Williams... And that's when, I picked the Chargers on Friday, and then the Mike Williams news came out. We were in the office. I'm talking to, Maz, and I'm like, well, that concerns me. No Mike Williams. Like, that's their big playmaker. And Justin, one of our fellow employees here at Woodward Sports, big Chargers fan, he said, Jeff, don't worry about that. We don't need Mike Williams. We'll be fine. Now, you definitely needed Mike Williams. I think we can all assume that. And that's what happens. You play him, a guy who's banged up all season. You play him in a meaningless game. And now you don't have them for the biggest game of the season, and they suffer because of it. I mean, they couldn't run the football. The Jaguars, to me, that it was an impressive performance, especially defensively. The second half, they only allowed 3 points to the Chargers. I mean, talk about second half adjustments. That's coaching. And then they asked Brandon Staley in the press conference, what did Doug Peterson and the Jags do in the second half? He's like, they didn't do much. They just did the same thing. And then you see Doug Peterson answer that same question. He's breaking down what changes up-tempo offense. I'm like, how clueless can you be as a head coach other than Brandon Staley?
And it's crazy to me with a guy like Brandon Staley because he is on the hot seat. I'm surprised he even has a job today. I mean, I thought he was going to be fired immediately after that game. But you think about a guy that, is constantly has you in the hunt for the playoffs, in the hunt for divisional championships, in a tough division too, and it's still not good enough. Like, I know from a Lions perspective, it's very strange, but they do need a new head coach. And unfortunately, they're targeting Ben Johnson too.
Yeah, I think that job has Ben Johnson or Sean Payton written all over it because Chargers could have a first-round pick to give away for Sean Payton, but if you're looking for someone to, I wouldn't say fix Justin Herbert, but to mold him, Ben Johnson's the guy. Like Brandon Staley, I never like, and me and Adam have this conversation, and I want your thoughts on it. I never like when you have a young quarterback and you hire a defensive head coach. I'm not a big, like Chicago, for example. You got Justin Fields. Let's go get Matt Eberflus, who knows defense very well, but can't groom my young quarterback. Brandon Staley with Herbert. That stuff, like you want a Doug Peterson with Trevor Lawrence. You want a Andy Reid with Patrick Mahomes. You want a Nick Sirianni with Jalen Hurts. These defensive head coaches, that's why Ben Johnson, to me, should be on the forefront of most of these lists, especially if you have a young quarterback or a quarterback that needs fixing, like a Denver maybe. I don't know if he can get fixed, by the way. We'll see with Russell Wilson. But the Chargers, to me, that's got Sean Payton and Ben Johnson written all over it to me.
Yeah, if Sean Payton takes that job, that's immediately a dangerous. Think about Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, like Austin Eckler. That is a dangerous team right off the get. If Sean Payton takes that job. And
he wouldn't play Mike Williams in the season finale. That means nothing.
See, we had this discussion on Friday, too, right? And to me, that's the hardest thing you have to do as an NFL head coach is to decide, do I try to gain momentum going to the playoffs or do I shut these guys down? And obviously, hindsight is always 20/20. Yeah. If Mike Williams balls out, has 3 touchdowns for 200 yards, and gets that rhythm going into the playoffs, we're having a completely different conversation. Obviously, that didn't happen, so This is what happened. Mike Williams always hurt, got hurt again, unavailable to play. But, yeah, more to me, I hate when people ask us, did the Jaguars win or did the Chargers lose it? And to me, it's a Jaguars win.
Yes, absolutely. No question.
What's up, Ryan Peralta? Good. I called you Ryan Peralta.
We'll just roll with it.
Never mind. We are live at Feldman in Novi, and we're going to be here all day today. Big D Energy going to do their show from 11 to 1. But let's talk about Guardian Alarm, Jeff.
Oh, let me tell you about them, guys, because it's the new year. Let Guardian Alarm provide you custom solutions from real experts. They got professional technicians that take the time to recommend security and automation solutions specific to your needs. They also have, as you know, 24/7 professional monitoring. You can call them anytime, day or night, and a Guardian team member will be there and stay on the phone for as long as you need. They also have technology backed by people. I mean, your safety and security deserves technology that's been proven to work and people that are proven to care. Call 1-800-STAY-OUT for more information.
Introducing the Planet Fitness Guide to getting that post-workout glow. Step 1, what's your why? More epic energy, better sleep, blow off steam? Step 2, join Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving in our clean and spacious clubs. Step 3, bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month.
Join today at any of the 50-plus Detroit area locations.
It's a great day to get some Centron in your life. Okay. There it is. Centron, here we go. Gotta grab the cranberry. Oh wait, it's 2 for $4. Gotta double up with the classic as well. Centron World, baby. Centron, available at select Krogers, and if you wanna know how, go to @CentronWorld.com. You get dope like me. You know what? Why wait? Great taste, guaranteed.
The only sports network in Detroit that starts with a W. You know, because we win. Woodward Sports, Detroit's winning sports network.
The new year is here, and if you're looking to lose weight like my man Kyle, who is down 38 pounds, Custom Health Center is the one that gets it done for you. And this is not like a normal diet where you just show up and they just paint with one big brush and say, hey, this is what we do. No, it's custom. It's specifically for you and your body type so you can burn fat the quickest. You want to get down on Custom Health, call them 844-789-8446. That's 844-789-8446. Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show, live on WoodwardSports.com. My name is Stick, filling in for Adam today. Juicy Jeff on the stage. Of course, we have Fish. We have Westfall. Flannel Sam is here. People in the chat trying to let us know where Adam could be. Was Adam the guy that placed $1.4 million on the Chargers and then lost to try to make $11,000?
That sounds exactly.
Is that why Adam's not here this morning?
That sounds exactly.
Did Adam lose his butt on the Chargers?
Man, I know tomorrow he's gonna be so upset by that Chargers loss.
Adam was in Maine and he won the Mega Millions. That's why Adam isn't here.
Oh.
Adam is taking a mental health day because the Vikings lost. Adam is off finger counting all the Great Lakes. I couldn't believe that dude didn't know. Like,
yes, that was a classic.
Adam likes to make believe that he doesn't know these things, but you went to public school in Michigan. They teach you about the Great Lakes. They do.
Yeah.
Like, Holmes is something you learn when you're 4 years old.
Yeah. And meanwhile, I'm bringing up random touchdown seasons by Brady, like 2009. He knows the total number. I'm like, so you know the statistics of Tom Brady, but you don't know the Great Lakes of Michigan. I mean, come on. What are we doing here?
Well, Adam is off today. I'm filling in. Like we said, we're live at Feldman Chevrolet in Novi. One thing that came out over the weekend, Jeff, that I want to talk about, Lions got screwed. And
what's new?
I am not a blame the officials guy.
Right.
I will never be a blame the officials guy. When Michigan fans were crying about it 2 weeks ago, I laughed in their face. Like, I think it's the dumbest thing you can ever do, and it's probably the laziest thing you can do. Instead of looking at yourself in the mirror and understanding that you fumbled the ball on the goal line, you want to blame the official for not giving you a touchdown. Right. We did that with Michigan, right? I don't like blaming the officials. I don't blame the officials for the Lions' loss to the Cowboys, even though they picked up the flag. You know why?
Plenty of time.
5 minutes left in the game. Yep. You shanked a punt. You got the ball back. You had time to rectify that thing that happened to you. Was it the right thing? No. It was the wrong call. But you had time to overcome it. This instance, kind of mad.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and the bigger part to me is the fact that there's executives and coaches that are agreeing with even Lions fans. And even after the game, I mean, I was doing the pregame show with Maz, and we're sitting there watching the game, and we're seeing that fake roughing the kicker call, which it was 5 seconds before we even laid a finger on the kicker, and they called it. And we're sitting there, doing the pregame show, and I'm like, yeah, these refs are terrible. But at the same time, after the show, we kind of just dropped it. Like, it was almost like we just kind of moved on. Hey, didn't make the playoffs. I didn't see Twitter going crazy. Lions fans mentioned it, but it wasn't that big of a deal. And then, boom, article comes out by Adam Schefter, and now it's executives, it's coaches. They labeled that game the worst officiated game of the year. And they even put in the article, which I love, by the way, as someone who talks about the Lions all the time, it says, the Lions were bothered by it, and the competition committee was frustrated by it. They said one source, what did they say this? Oh, The Lions should be livid.
Yeah.
One source told ESPN it was an awful way for them to end their season. Isn't it funny that we bring up brand new Lions? This is brand new Lions, by the way. National media is saying the Lions should be pissed, not dismissing anything that happens at the Lions. I love it. I love that it's a conversation. Nothing we can do about it because, again, like you said, would I like to blame the officials? Yes. But more than that, the Lions were 1-6 to start the season. You get one of those wins or you beat Carolina during the playoffs. We're not even talking about this game. You want to control your own destiny, but at the same time, these refs are terrible stick.
Well, and this is where, like I said, I'm not to blame the officials. I'm going to blame the officials here. Because the Lions had no way to overcome what the officials were doing. Yeah. This was happening to them in another game in a far-off land. They had no control over the outcome. All you could do was sit there and take those bad calls, and you couldn't overcome them. That's why in this situation, I'm a little more outspoken than normal on it, right? Because, like I said, I'll repeat this 1,000 times. I don't like blaming officials. I like teams that overcome adversity. Mm-hmm. But when the adversity has nothing to do with the game that you're playing, how do you overcome it? No, right. What could the Lions have done? Because they couldn't have tried harder. They couldn't have done more. What they did, they controlled what they could, and they went in and they beat the Packers. But for the fact of the matter that game is getting called out, the competition committee is talking about how bad it was, and then you got the Lions sitting there, and then of course Seattle goes to the playoffs and gets their doors blown off of them, like we all knew was going to happen. I was shocked that was even a game going into halftime. And this is what you get. You get bad football because of bad referees putting in the wrong teams to the playoffs. And then you throw in the conspiracy theorists about how, gambling's involved and money's involved and the refs are being paid. And you know what? The integrity of the game is something important. And Roger Goodell needs to get a hold of this because these bad calls that are changing playoff teams and now even during the playoffs changing outcomes is a bad look if you could question the integrity of the league.
Yeah, and you hear that conspiracy theory of, they didn't want the Lions in. They'd rather have the Seahawks or the Packers in. And by the way, how'd that work out? Because I think the Lions would have gave a better fight than either of those teams. But let's go through some of the calls because they laid them all out in this article by Adam Schefter on ESPN. And it's funny because they go through the roughing the kicker call. It says the official who threw the flag didn't even have an angle that allowed him to see Williams being blocked into Dixon. So it was pretty much I see some contact, throw the flag.
And that is by far against every officiating rule that I have ever been a part of. I umpired till I was 25 years old. I umpired for I think it was 13 years, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the main things when you umpire, if you didn't see it, you can't call it.
Right.
Whether he's safe or out, if you didn't see it, you can't call it. And you would think professional officials would have this, but when I say professionals, these guys are still part-time. This is where it all goes. You want to go to the core of the issue? Talk about you got to pay these guys like they're full-time employees, not just some dude that works on the assembly line at Ford in the off season. And then come football season, he's collecting his $80K just to be a referee. That can't happen. You're a $1 billion conglomerate.
Right.
Pay these guys and hold them accountable.
And that's actually with this article, I'm glad you brought that up because they referenced that as well. It says one source told ESPN this week that the NFL must do a better job of screening, hiring, and training its officials. The league can't have games in which team seasons are on the line and have questionable and impactful calls such as the ones in the Rams versus Seahawks. It says officiating is an imperfect science, but the source said to ESPN that there should be ways to mitigate those types of mistakes. To your point, they got to be better. I mean, even this, they brought up, too, the unnecessary roughness call I saw on Jalen Ramsey, which I didn't agree with at all. Jalen Ramsey was standing still. Geno runs into him. Yeah, he gave him a little bit of the shoulder, but Jalen wasn't going forward and hitting him. He stood still. Geno runs into him. And it says they missed the flag after that where DK poked Ramsey in the face, didn't get penalized. They say here that Quandre Diggs, when he intercepted Baker, he ran back, pointed at Bobby Wagner.
Yep.
The officials didn't call a taunting penalty, which would have pushed them back 15 yards. There's a plethora of calls they list out here and explain how the refs missed them. I get one call, I really do. But if we're talking 3, 4, 5 calls that you missed in one of the biggest games that have so many implications on other teams going into the playoffs, it's inexcusable.
Do you think we'd care so much if it didn't affect the Lions, though? Or that just be another NFL game? Like, that's what I mean. Like, and that's the thing. This happens all the time. This is just so highlighted. But it's crazy that Adam Schefter, like you said, wrote an article about it. We wrote an article about it, too, at woodwardsports.com if you want to go check it out. And then Deshaun Elliott doubled down. Did you see what Deshaun Elliott tweeted out? I'm surprised. And his tweet's still up because I went back this morning and checked it. Deshaun Elliott tweeted out, "Oh, so they fixing games, huh?" When players are starting to question the integrity of the league, you got a problem. This is the smoke. There's going to be fire soon if this keeps up. Because think about if this happens in the Super Bowl or in a championship game or something like that. And the fact that there's players now going to Twitter and publicly roasting and questioning the integrity of the game, this is the beginning of a major thing.
Yeah, it's not just Joe Schmo on Twitter saying it's fixed.
It's not me, right?
It's Deshaun frickin' Elliott that's saying it. And it also brings up another point, because I saw this yesterday and over the weekend. Jamal Williams, he had the double hip thrust, which he's been doing pretty much all year. He was fined earlier in the season. He did it twice, of course, on Sunday Night Football, which, big stage, a lot of people watching. It was the second time. He got fined $18,000 for the hip thrust. And then you see in that same game, Quay Walker, who pushed an athletic trainer or one of the staff members for the Detroit Lions, and this is post-Damar Hamlin. When you see how important the staff members are to these players getting to the field and fixing whatever's wrong, this is Quay Walker's second offense, by the way. Just like Jamal Williams. He pushed a trainer, I believe it was against the Bills earlier in the year. He gets $13,000 for a fine. Like, some of these things, it's not just referee calls, but the NFL as well. Like, explain these things to me. Quay Walker pushing an athletic staff member twice, or Jamal Williams hip thrusting after a touchdown, we'll give Jamal a higher fine. Like, this stuff on top of that doesn't really make sense to me either. Like, as much as we can complain about the referee, it's really the NFL in general. Some of these calls they make, like fining players, how do you judge that? Like, how do you judge that Quay gets $5,000 less of a fine for probably a more severe a circumstance of pushing an athletic training staff member? I don't understand. Like, some of the stuff I just kind of choose to not even get into because I don't get it.
Yeah, it's tough to justify that Jamal Williams with those swaggy hips is worth a bigger fine than pushing an individual that's trying to help somebody that's down on the field.
For the second time.
Yeah, but this was Swaggy's second time with it, and
right.
I don't know, man. Jamal Williams, it's something about that hip rotation that drives the NFL crazy, man. They see that happening, and oh my God. I remember the first time he did it, and it was going on for quite a few seconds.
He got a couple pumps in there.
Oh, he impregnated the whole city of Detroit that game. And then he went and tried to do it again, and they're like, no, you cannot do that, sir. You are way too sexy. You need to pay us. Yeah. And that's what I think's going on with the NFL. It's just Jamal's too sexy.
That's what it is.
It has to be it.
Like, there are children in the stadium. Jamal with your hip thrust. But no, after reading all this news with the article coming out about the referees and then Jamal's fine, I'm just sitting here throwing my hands up, man. I'm just like, hey, welcome to being a fan of the Lions. You kind of deal with this stuff often, but
you know what happened?
At least it's acknowledged.
You know what happened with Jamal Williams? The guy that's in charge of fines was sitting there watching the game. His wife was next to him. Jamal did that. Her eyes got big. She started to feel herself a little bit, and the guy's like, I'm fine in this. No one makes my wife feel that way but me, and I can't even make her feel that way. Yeah. And that's what happened. I'm assuming that's whoever assigns the fine, his wife was a little too attracted to Jamal Williams.
No, that was vengeance. That's what that's fighting Jamal.
I'm fighting this dude for being too sexy.
That's what it comes down to, baby. You can't control it. Jamal's just too smooth. He's a smooth criminal, man. He's a smooth criminal.
Well, we got to talk about the Lions running back situation because something popped up over the weekend, and Amon-Ra St. Brown got involved in this conversation. And if you want to go to our Twitter, Woodward Sports, you can check out the tweet that we put up. We're going to talk about Amon-Ra St. Brown. We're going to talk about Swaggy, and we're going to talk about DeAndre Swift coming up next. But tell him about Big Boy.
Let me tell you about him because, guys, wintertime in Detroit is always better when you get comfort foods from Big Boy. You can try the classic meatloaf or the Cajun chicken Alfredo. But how about breakfast? When we were at Big Boy about a month ago, I got myself big old potato pancakes. They're stuffed, by the way, in the Lumberjack, Santa Fe Garden, the Blockbuster. You can get them all. Stop by your local Big Boy today.
I love Woodward sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on Shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Beverly Hills Golf, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Fellas, let's be honest. We like things to be easy. We like simple stuff, like sports 7 days a week. We like things uncomplicated, like Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men. Open 10 to 8, 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. Sign in, sit down, watch your favorite team play. And before you know it, your hair will be game ready. Open 10 to 8, 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men. It's wicked awesome.
Get a shot up. This is for the win.
All of Detroit's sports teams live on Woodward. All of Detroit's sports coverage lives on Woodward Sports. Driving the best in Detroit sports coverage.
Chili Peppers Tanning is where you'll find all the cleanest salons in the D with spotless, sanitized rooms and trained and certified tanning professionals. You can join the Pepper Club for all the best deals. They'll beat all competitors by $5. ChiliPeppersTanning.com. Hottest bulbs, hottest deals, darkest tans. Your vitamin D headquarters, 27 locations and more on the way.
Chili Peppers Tan.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show live on woodwardsports.com. My name is Stick, filling in for Adam today. People hypothesizing on where Adam could be. I've seen he went to Yemen. He also got arrested for maybe smacking his wife. I saw that in the chat. Listen, these are what people are. I'm going to pull a Neil Rule. I was told.
Yeah, it's not you saying it. You're told.
It has nothing to do with what I'm saying.
We're told.
People are afraid that Adam lost a bet finally, and somebody came and took him away.
The Sharks are coming after him.
So Adam is off this morning. He's not feeling well, but my name is Stick. That is Jeff Iafrate. We are live at Feldman Chevrolet in Novi, where you can come get a beautiful brand new car. The lot here is filling up, man. They have a lot of cars right now.
How do you
not? I got hooked up 2 months ago with my Chevy Equinox. Francis here helped me out. He's a great guy. Shout out to Feldman. I got to come here in probably about a month to get an oil change. But Feldman, this place is great, man. I love it. More than just doing shows here. They hook your boy up. He got me a good deal.
And that's awesome.
Why can't they hook you up? That's my question.
Adam smoked his hookah in the wrong place. That is why he's not here. Adam is out in L.A. begging the Chargers to keep Brandon Staley, so there's no possibility Ben Johnson is going there.
That's doing God's work. All right, if he's doing that, I'm okay with it.
Let's see. Ooh, Pat McAfee. We'll discuss that coming up.
Okay, all right.
But what I want to discuss is Amon-Ra St. Brown responding to one of our tweets from Woodward Sports over the weekend about replacing DeAndre Swift, or are you happy with the current backfield? Right. And the question was, do you want somebody else besides DeAndre Swift? And it's a very simple answer by Amon-Ra St. Brown. He didn't go into depth. He didn't explain himself. He just quote tweeted it and said, no.
Yeah.
N-O. No. He does not want to change at the running back position.
I get it. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's a teammate, who's known Swift. I mean, those guys are as close as ever. Everybody in that locker room.
Yeah, but he didn't have to go out of his way to defend him. He could have just scrolled by it and moved on.
And I think part of it, too, is those guys, listen, as much as they want to see it, they're on social media. They see the criticism. They see what people are talking about with DeAndre Swift. And obviously that's a conversation that has to be had. Because Swift, to me, when we first drafted him, we might have gotten our franchise back, right? That was the big thing. I was excited. I mean, he had all the running backs available. He had the least workload coming out of college. And then now the last couple seasons with Swift, he's been a little banged up. You haven't been able to use him like you wanted to. Even this season, he's only had double-digit carries 3 times. He had it week 1 where he went for 144, by the way, 15 carries. He had 14 against the Jags, and he had 11 against Chicago. Other than that, he's been pretty much a 6 to 8 carry guy. And that's why the conversation gets brought up, because his contract's going to be up soon. And the big question is, are you trading him? Are you keeping him? What are you doing? Now, I've kind of kept the same sentiment as earlier in the year. I like Swift a lot. I do. I want to bring Jamal Williams back. I like our backfield. Now, the question is, do you take a running back maybe later in the draft? Maybe. I don't think you sign one. I think the backfield they currently have is fine. The issue I have is I love Jamal, but for him to be your 1A back, I I don't know if that's a scenario you love. Jamal, to me, is more of a complimentary back, a guy who went for 1,000 this year and broke Barry Sanders' touchdown record. Can't take that away from him.
Did you see 11 of those touchdowns came with 1 yard?
Thank you.
Like 56% of those. And I'm not taking those away. You still got to get in the end zone. And
right.
Listen, and anytime you touch Barry Sanders in any capacity, you did a good job. But, yeah, how many people can score those 1 yard touchdowns?
There you go.
Not the Ravens. But,
could have Swift gotten some of those if he had the opportunity? Probably. But with Swift, I think that's a decision for Brad Holmes. I think you got to look at what is even worth trading at this point. Probably not. I think the value of Swift is you're probably more valuable keeping him because he still has a lot of upside, in my opinion. If you trade him right now, you're getting little to no assets for him, and that's probably why. I mean, I like Amon-Ra. I respect his opinion, but at the end of the day, I think that's a decision for Brad. I mean, you got to evaluate this backfield and see, is Swift the guy we want going into the future? Can he stay healthy? That's the number one thing for Swift. He has to stay healthy, and if he can a whole season, I don't mind him sticking around in Detroit. I really don't.
I'm in the mindset of don't mess with what works. Don't go for change just for the sake of change. How was the Lions' offense this year?
Oh, it was excellent.
Yardage, I think they were top 5.
Yeah.
Points, I think they were top 5. Touchdowns, Jared Goff was, I think, top 6.
Yep. Yeah.
Did they have over 1,000-yard rusher? Yep. They had a guy that scored 16, 17 touchdowns? Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. Where do you improve this offense? And this goes back into the debate that I keep having with people about what to do with our draft capital coming into this season. You don't touch the offense. You let the offense marinate, because that's what's going on right now. These guys finally figured out the system. Ben Johnson, obviously a crucial part of keeping this whole thing together. You want him back, but even if he isn't back, you want that cohesiveness. You're already adding Jamison Williams next year. That's a piece you didn't have this year. Whether he played in a little bit in the last couple games, that was nothing compared to the impact that he's going to have on the offense. To me, you let this thing continue to grow and continue to get better. Going out, and this is why I argued about Jared Goff. Why would you pull this guy out of the lineup?
Right.
Why? And, like early on, there was Lamar Jackson may come to Detroit. I don't want Lamar Jackson here now. I was on that bandwagon maybe a little bit earlier in the season, like, yeah, man, this would be scary with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson proved yesterday he's not a leader and he's not a good teammate. He should have been out there, broken leg, whatever, playoffs, I don't care. And Teddy Bruschi was talking about this before the game, too. Like, he was talking about how mad he was. Larry Fitzgerald was taking the other side of it, but during the ESPN pregame show, he's like, listen, I get it. You got $250 million sitting on the table, generational wealth, got to take care of your family. That's regular season concern. We got a chance to put a ring on our finger. And if you're not here to get a ring and you're just here to cash a check, you're never going to get a ring.
Now, the problem I have, and I agree with some of that, but the issue I have is with Robert Griffin, right? And I get it wasn't a playoff atmosphere, but still, you can get injured like a Robert Griffin and end your career at any given moment, especially when his knee is that unstable. So I don't fault Lamar for not playing. I think that's more probably frustrations with the Ravens. Now, why didn't he travel? I don't know. I think that's.
Do you want that guy leading your team, though? Honestly, when I know when push comes to shove that this guy's going to pick himself over the team, do you want that guy in your foxhole?
But do you think he'd pick himself if he was paid? If he had that contract already under him? I think he would have went out there with one leg and said, "Let's go." If he was getting paid. Now, if you can risk your future wealth, your family, your kids' wealth, I don't really fault him. I have a bigger issue with not even traveling with the team. I don't know the circumstances with that, if he's rehabbing.
That's what I'm talking. That's part of leadership.
Yes.
That's all of it. Where were you coaching Huntley on the sideline?
I agree.
Where were you seeing things in that's what I mean. It's not the totality of him just not playing because of an injury. It's disconnecting from the team. It's totally taking yourself out of it. When we discussed before the show, they very well could have won that game with Lamar Jackson at quarterback.
Yeah, I think so. They played a close one with Huntley. I mean, if they had Lamar, they might have had an upset.
But back to the original point, I don't want to switch out Goff now for a Lamar Jackson. Not only has Goff proven that he has a master control of this offense, Lamar Jackson just proved to me this weekend that he's not the teammate that I want in the foxhole.
Yeah.
But then that goes back to our running back situations. I don't think you change it.
No, and I love the connection. If you watch any of them mic'd up on the Detroit Lions YouTube page, you see Jamal and DeAndre, the relationship, and those guys as a 1-2 punch. I really do love it. I mean, Swift brings you stuff that Jamal can't. Now, would you like more production out of Swift? Yes. I think part of that this year was because he was unhealthy. I think if next year, and I know we say this every year with Swift, but if he's healthy next year, I do think the production will be there, to your point. If it's not broke, don't fix it. And they have a good run game. They have one of the best offensive lines. I don't think you need one of these prototypical 1A backs, these guys you can give 30 carries to. You could, but I don't think you need to with this offensive line. I think with Jamal and DeAndre, you can have a successful run game that's effective with those two guys, if they're healthy.
And let's take a look at the playoffs this weekend. What running back really dominated a game? Saquon had a decent game.
Maybe Christian McCaffrey, but that's Christian McCaffrey. I mean,
Christian McCaffrey, he's that dude. Eckler had a decent game, but this is no longer a running back predicated NFL. You don't need that bell cow back. There is no running back in the playoffs right now that's getting 30 carries a game. So the Lions, I think, have a nice 1-2 punch. It's a very complimentary. And when Swift is healthy, my God, remember early in the season when Swift fell down on a play,
on his butt,
got up, then scored a touchdown?
Yeah.
That's the DeAndre Swift you hope and you want to see moving forward.
And who was the guy that made one of the most important plays of the game? I mean, the lateral pass to Swift, who got you another 15 yards to put you in position. Swift made a lot of key plays this year. Don't get it twisted. He's a significant part of this offense, not just what he does in the run game, but he's a receiver. I mean, he's essentially a slot receiver you can use as well. So Swift's value, I think, gets kind of overlooked sometimes because the big question is, can he stay healthy? But nobody can question when he's healthy, he's productive. Now, would you like to give him more carries? Yes. I think part of that, though, he's so banged up all year. He had a shoulder injury, he had the ankle injury. I mean, I think there was stuff that was holding him back. If you have a healthy Swift and you can kind of let the leash off him a little bit, you saw what he could be, Stick, early in the season.
Yeah.
That first game against Philly, over 140 yards. That's Swift to me. He can ball out if he's healthy.
And he's still on the rookie deal, man.
It's cheap.
Well, he's not breaking the bank. He's still got at least another year with him. Evaluate him this next year and then make your decision. What you don't want to happen is kind of what's happening in Vegas with Josh Jacobs. They didn't re-sign him to that fifth-year option, right?
Big mistake.
And what was he this year? The best running back in the NFL. Now he's got a blank check to pretty much go anywhere he wants to. Anybody that's going to pay Josh Jacobs is going to pay Josh Jacobs. That may be a guy that I'd be like, all right, we can upgrade a little bit at the running back position.
Oh, yeah. He had the best year out of all the running backs this season. But to your point, look at some of the better running backs. I know there's other circumstances, but Derrick Henry, to your point, Josh Jacobs, none of those guys are in the playoffs. So at the end of the day, I think there's more to it. I think the Lions have a really complete offense. And when you have as good of an offensive line as you do, you don't really need a guy like Josh Jacobs. I think it would be great, but Josh Jacobs running behind that offensive line for the Las Vegas Raiders, not Oakland Raiders. I always mess that up. He still played really well. So whether they get a back or not doesn't really matter to me. I think whoever you have running back there, you trust those big guys up front to open up some holes for him.
Yeah, if you're going to improve on a position for the Detroit Lions offense, the only place that when you're scanning across the board that they truly need help is maybe tight end.
Yeah, and even then, they got production this year out of those guys.
They got more production after Hockenson left, and tip your hat to Hockenson, too. He had a hell of a game for the Vikings yesterday. Catching the check down on 4th down and 8 from Kirk Cousins.
Terrible, by the way.
Oh, my God. Now, you want to talk about SOL? That was an SOL play call right there. Season on the line, 4th and 8. Checking down to T.J. Hockenson.
Let's throw T.J. a 4-yard drag route out of 4th and 8. I mean, come on, dude. Part of that, we won't get into it, but on top of this, yes, I think overall, and I want to put a poll in the chat, which I'll do right now, because I want to go to the people on this. As we go to break, we'll come back and check the poll. Would you guys like to keep DeAndre Swift, or are you looking for a deal for him? I'm curious what the people think, but I think we mutually agree. Swift, you keep him. He's too damn talented.
He's that insurance policy.
Yes.
He's what you need. And when you need insurance, where do you go, Jeff?
I go to Swiss. Every single time.
Not Swift.
Twice
you go to Swiss.
Yeah. Not Swift. Swiss Insurance. Because you could check with Swiss this week for your commercial insurance review. Many businesses choose a 1/1 effective date, but Swiss Insurance can help make sure you have the proper coverage. Swiss Insurance, give them a shot and you won't be disappointed. Contact them, mark@swissins.com for more information.
By now you know me, Christina Gennari, as the obvious choice in real estate. And you know my website, soldchristina.com, as your #1 resource for buying or selling your home. Myself, along with my amazing staff, pride ourselves on making your home buying and selling experience a relaxing and easy one. Come see why we are the obvious choice. Christina Gennari at soldchristina.com, the obvious choice in real estate.
NBA championships. Detroit fans were there. 11 Stanley Cups. Detroit fans were there. 4 World Series wins. Detroit fans were there. And that one Lions playoff win in 1991? Yeah, Detroit fans were there. Woodward Sports, where the fans are.
Decked Out Detroit is here, and you can go to deckedoutdetroit.com and check out the Monroe Street Midway. Someone just put in the chat. Maybe that's where Adham is with Fish today. Adham could be there, but Fish is here, so I got eyes on Fish. But Fish loves the Monroe Street Midway. You go down there, they got the big slides, they got the arcade, and so much more. Shop, eat, play downtown all winter long at deckedoutdetroit.com. Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show, live on woodwardsports.com. My name is Stick, filling in for Adham Beydoun. Some people are saying it's nice that this is a PG-rated show today.
Yeah, no swear. We haven't swore once yet.
Yeah. Well, what's there to be mad about today? I was going to start out the show, ha, 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 you mother.
Have your hookah.
Have my hookah.
No, different vibe for today. Switching it up on a Monday.
But we are here at Feldman. Beautiful spot in Novi. If you're in the area, stop on by. D-Mac's going to be doing his show later from 11 to 1 with Neil Rule here, so you can stop by, meet Darren McCarty, Terry Foster, all the rest of the boys. And if you're in the market for a new car, no better place to get one. These people take care of you. Good stuff. And that beautiful car right behind Fish. I can see Fish rolling in that car.
If Fish isn't already a chick magnet, Fish, imagine driving in that Camaro behind you. The damage you would do in that. With the top down.
Save some for the rest of us, Fish.
Please.
Save some for the rest
It's a nice car.
It is a nice car.
Should I get in it?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, get in it, Fish.
Can we get in it now?
Yeah, go ahead while we're here. Hurry up. Yes. Do you want to do a hood slide or you want to hop over? What do you do? Open the door like a human, Fish. Wee wee. There it is.
Fish, your head doesn't even peek up over the door.
Imagine pulling up to a stoplight and this guy's sitting there revving his engine at you, ladies.
Oh. Yeah, look, he gets in the passenger.
You're Euro. You can drive on the other side.
Look at his head. His head barely peeks over.
We give Fish a booster seat.
Oh my gosh, man. Fish, you're a legend. Look at him. Chilling like a villain.
Yes, you can get out now, Fish. Thank you. Live from Feldman Chevrolet.
Can I get out? No, stay in there, Fish. Stay in there to the end.
We love you, Fish. Let's talk a little bit around the NFL. We've been dealing with a lot of Lions, and we're going to get into more Lions talk. But obviously, yesterday, what do you want to talk? Do you want to talk about the good coaching jobs? Do you want to talk about teams that could be in trouble?
I want to, because one thing I took away watching the Jaguars is, why can't the Lions do this? Why can't they go from one of the worst teams to now getting a playoff win? Which
they did, essentially.
I know it. Yeah, it didn't really happen this year.
Yeah.
But the Lions can replicate what the Jags did. I know they did it quicker, but still, Lions were 9-8. Jags are 9-8. Now the Jags played in a terrible division, so they won their division.
That's what I'm saying. Like the Lions did what the Jags did, but they didn't get a playoff win.
And I think if they got in, they had a chance. They maybe could have won a playoff game. But it doesn't matter. The case I want to make is next season, the Lions to me, and I know we're going to have this discussion. There's plenty of time for it, but what the Jaguars did, I looked up both of these teams over the last 4 years, and they're so similar, right? The last 4 seasons for the Lions, they've been 4th in their division. The Jaguars, last 4 seasons, they've been 4th in their division. They had the number 1 pick last year. Lions picked 2. Both teams improved to 9-8. I just think the Lions' playoff win might come a year later because next season, I think if you're looking at the NFC North, you got to be the most confident in the division. And I know you could say, well, Jeff, the Jaguars have Trevor Lawrence. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, Stick. Jared Goff had a better season than Trevor Lawrence by the numbers. I'm just going by the numbers, right?
Yep.
And Trevor Lawrence, as bad as he played in that playoff game, still threw 4 touchdowns. He looked damn good. But Jared Goff, to me, he's still played in multiple playoff games. He's won multiple playoff games. He's played in big games. He's played in NFC title games, in a Super Bowl. I think he has the DNA to at least get you there and win some games for you. I think next season is the season because if they win their division, like Minnesota, and they got to play a team like Minnesota, let's say they play a team like the Giants, I think the Lions take care of business. And imagine that scenario. Your first 3 years for Dan Campbell, 3 wins, 9 wins, let's say 10-11, and you get a playoff win. That would be a trajectory that we all asked for and then some. I mean, a playoff win, we've been waiting for years, over 30 years in my lifetime waiting for a playoff win. And I think next season they could realistically do the same thing the Jaguars did this season.
Yeah, the Jaguars, they looked impressive. I mean, there's nothing.
It's not in the same fashion. Hopefully you're not down 27-0 and you got to come back. But I think they can get a playoff win.
I don't care. The Lions could go down 47-0. As long as they come back and win and get a playoff win, that would be amazing. Yeah. But then you got to tip your cap to the first-year head coaches like a Doug Peterson. And then, you go over to New York, a team that the Lions absolutely manhandled in their house. They get a playoff win too.
Right.
And that's another rookie head coach. Doug Peterson's not a rookie head coach. It's his first year on that job, but Dabble's a rookie head coach. And it's just, you see how important that head coaching position is, right? Look at the difference in Trevor Lawrence. Yes, he was a rookie last year, and this is his second year. He should be a little more adjusted to the league. But playing under Urban Meyer compared to playing under Peterson, you could just tell he's a completely different animal. But I want to approach this with some caution because we always talk about quarterback drafts, right, and the class and whatnot. You go back to the quarterback draft class with Trevor Lawrence, he's really the only one you want now out of that class, right?
Yeah.
You don't want Zach Wilson.
No.
You don't want Justin Fields. I mean, maybe Justin Fields.
No,
maybe.
You're right. It would be Trevor Lawrence.
Long-term, you don't want Justin Fields. Trey Lance. Do you want Trey Lance?
Not at the moment.
Well, hell, Purdy's doing pretty damn good, isn't he? So, like, when people get so hyped about quarterback classes and about first, second, third picks, all got to be quarterbacks, look at that. 25% paid off that draft. 25%. And that was the best prospect to come out since Jesus, right? Like, there was no failing for Trevor Lawrence. He couldn't fail. He was the can't-miss pick. Everybody else completely missed.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the storyline for most drafts. I mean, you go back to 2018, remember, it was Baker number 1, Saquon number 2. He's the only one that really worked out. And then you had Sam Darnold number 3. Oof. Wow. Both those players
Isn't
aren't
Josh
on
Rosen in that
teams.
Draft at 9 or so?
Yes, Josh Rosen at 10.
At 10, okay.
Every quarterback, if you look at all the quarterbacks in the top 10, you have Baker, Darnold, Josh Allen, and Josh Rosen. 1 out of the 4 worked. I mean, it was a 25% hit rate. I feel like this is kind of the common theme in a lot of drafts. So as much as someone might look enticing on paper, they're not always the same when they get in your building. I mean, Josh Allen worked out, but if he didn't work out, you'd be 0 for 4 in the first top 10 picks in 2018.
You know what I kind of see happening in the NFL? With quarterbacks, what has happened to running backs?
Yes.
They've become devalued, and that's when a guy like Brock Purdy can come in, throw for 3 touchdowns, absolutely control the offense, and he's the very last pick in the entire NFL draft, but he's still serviceable when guys are wasting number 2 overall picks on Zach Wilson.
Right.
So, like, NFL is a copycat league. Quarterbacks are going to start dropping in the draft because people are going to understand we can pick up somebody as long as they're a system fit. We're going to be fine. I mean, look at Miami. That kid for Miami, not a great quarterback, but
I'm pretty sure he was taken like the 6th or 7th round, by the way.
He played well.
Yeah.
He didn't cost them the game. He didn't win them a game, but he didn't cost them the game. So the way this playoff is playing out and the way quarterbacks are falling in the NFL, I see them kind of going the way of running backs where they're just going to be devalued.
Yeah, and I think, for teams that stink, like a Houston or the Colts, for example, teams that are starving for QBs, I think there'll always be reaches. I think that's just how it is. I mean, if you look at a team that, like the Colts, for example, good defense, okay receivers, they're looking for a new head coach. I think a quarterback makes sense. Houston, to start the rebuild, I think you start your rebuild with a top selection of a quarterback. But to your point, for teams that are have a good roster, like the 49ers, you can maybe take a guy like a Brock Purdy because, like you said, it's a system fit, right? You just need someone to make easy reads, get rid of the football, don't have to do too much. And I think Brock, that's why he's striving with the 49ers. But for a situation like Houston, you might need a quarterback like a Bryce Young or a C.J. Stroud, somebody that can come in that's young. But to your point, that's kind of been the storyline. I mean, last year, one of the worst quarterback classes. Kenny Pickett was the glowing light in the dark room there. And Kenny this year kind of had a subpar rookie season. I know the Steelers started winning some games, but Kenny Pickett, to me, it's tough.
But I think he'll be fine.
But he'll be fine.
But Desmond Ridder, not that guy.
No, he's not. But again,
Malik Willis, not that guy.
But for quarterbacks, there's always going to be teams that take him because simply there's teams that stink, and they think, all right, how do we start a rebuild? Take a quarterback.
And I think that is the most backward-ass thinking that you could ever have. You got to build the team, then you get the quarterback. It's not vice versa, because what good is a quarterback if you don't have a line to protect him? What good is a quarterback if you don't have a running game? What good is a quarterback if you don't have wide receivers to throw him the ball? And that's where I think teams are going to start to catch on and follow the mold of the 49ers. Hey, they built a complete team. Now look, they're 3 quarterbacks deep, and they're still a Super Bowl contender. Right. If you built solely around your quarterback, it's not going to happen. And that, like we can look at the Chiefs. They've kind of built around Patrick Mahomes. Chad Henne did win them a playoff game a couple years ago, but if they were on their 3rd-string quarterback, you think the Chiefs would be as competitive? Hell no.
No, they wouldn't. And then that's coaching, right? I mean, Kyle Shanahan's one of the best coaches we've seen in this era.
That's true.
And what he's been able to do with quarterbacks, I think it really depends on a lot of things. The situation, the coach, the team itself, because there's a lot of teams that you could say, like the Jets, for example. They took Zach Wilson. Yeah, it was a miss. But all they need is a quarterback. They could sign a guy like a Derek Carr and be in the playoff conversation to me. I mean, they're a quarterback away. So for teams like that, to your point, you could go out. Quarterbacks are available every season. Like Russell Wilson, Denver goes and trades for him. Matthew Stafford.
I am not paying what they pay for Russell Wilson.
Hell no.
Yeah,
Hell no. But to his point, coaching matters. So, again, quarterbacks are always going to be available, but at the same time, that's why they're the most important commodity in football, because a lot of teams are just a quarterback away, and they think, like the Colts, we'll go take one in the draft, and that'll solve all of our solutions. But really, will it? Like, do we know C.J. Stroud will be an excellent pro? Nobody knows. But that's the point. Teams are going to keep reaching for quarterbacks. That's never going to change to me.
One funky Lions fan in the WoodwardSports.com chat said they built around Mahomes, ? Yeah, they built around the Mahomes. I mean, that was part of the plan. They had Alex Smith there. They had built up the rest of the team.
Yeah, they were a playoff
team. They had
team.
a solid defense. And then they went and got their quarterback.
Right.
That's how it worked in Kansas City, and it worked out for them. Mm-hmm. They didn't try to reverse engineer it, take the best quarterback, and then try to fill it out.
Right.
It's worked a little bit, I guess you could say, in Cincinnati, going after Joe Burrow and passing Penei Sewell and going for Jamar Chase, going for the trendy pieces there. It's kind of worked.
But they already had a Higgins. They had a Tyler Boyd.
Yeah.
So, like they're just kind of building. Really, the 2 picks, the icing on the cake were Joe and Jamar Chase. And they had some free agency signings like Von Bell that were significant as well. But to your point, I think that theory of taking a quarterback, having a team, like the kind of the touching piece, that's kind of what the 49ers tried to do. Like, they had a Super Bowl team, and they thought, you know what? Let's go get our guy in Trey Lance. He can sit behind Jimmy G, and then we got our Patrick Mahomes for the future. Now, did it work out like that? No, because he broke his ankle early in the season, and then you had to improvise, and now here comes Brock Purdy, and now he looks like a guy that can legitimately make a case. He could be the starter for the future. I mean, this is the NFL, man. I mean, teams are going to make decisions either way, and I think the quarterback, that position will never be devalued. I mean, teams every season, if we only had a quarterback, there's probably 4 or 5 teams this season you could say that for, and they're looking for that QB. That's how it usually goes, except for the Lions. Lions got their guy for the near future.
They do have their guy, and probably the most balanced trade in NFL history, right, with the Rams, Lions, getting
definitely.
Jared Goff. And, Brad Holmes talked about that. He wanted Goff a part of that deal. Like, he called and said, hey, this needs to be a part of this deal. It's not like the Rams were just trying to throw him in. That was something that Brad Holmes pursued.
Mm-hmm.
And it definitely worked out for the Detroit Lions.
No question.
And it's definitely worked out for Jared Goff. It's just been kind of a revitalization of his career, too.
Mm-hmm. And he's playing some of his best football of his career. I mean, he has career highs in multiple categories. I mean, he's up there in touchdown passes. I think he's second of his career in touchdown passes in a season. He's second in QBR. I think he's first or second in yards. He's having an excellent season. Brad Holmes clearly saw that before any of us. We thought he was just a throw-in, essentially. That was kind of the narrative with Jared Goff. I don't know, man. You get him some
best
weapons.
throw-in ever?
Yeah, you get him some weapons. You get him good coaching like a Ben Johnson, Dan Campbell. He's playing like a top 10 quarterback this season in the NFL, not just the NFC.
Can we talk about that play that changed the game between the Ravens and the Bengals?
Yes.
How devastated would you be if you woke up this morning as a Ravens fan knowing that you were 1 foot away from taking the lead? Like, did you see the win probability went from they were about 76% to 40% right after that play? I would be devastated if I woke up today and I was a Ravens fan.
And I think that's where kind of the narrative comes in. The Lions ended with a win. Everybody's excited. The Ravens, on the other hand, you got to let that sink in the entire offseason. And then you have the Lamar, the contract negotiations playing out. If you're a Ravens fan, You're absolutely furious this morning. Even if you had Tyler Huntley, I mean, they were in that ball game.
Their defense is unreal.
It's unbelievable. That's why they extended Roquan. He's a dog, man.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Did you see since they signed Roquan Smith, they've averaged giving up less than 10 points less per game.
That's insane.
10-point swing with one dude joining your defense.
That's an all-pro linebacker.
But conversely, they were averaging 10 points less on offense without Lamar Jackson, so it kind of canceled each other out.
Yeah.
But that's when you're a Ravens fan, and going back to the Lamar Jackson thing, it's like you're looking around the room. If this guy even could get us +3 now, we're a completely different team.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that play, man, it was the wildest play I think I've ever seen. One of them, Larry Foote when the Super Bowl was here in Detroit, that was an insane play to return that all the way for a touchdown. But, man, last night when he's up in the air, you've seen it a million times, and people just swat that ball for it to just fall right into that dude's hands, and for him to run 98 yards, huffing and puffing, and he's on the breathing machine afterwards, like – I think about being a Baltimore fan in that situation, but then I also think about being a Bengals fan in that situation. I would be throwing things off of my roof if that happened for the Lions.
That's a situation if you're a Ravens fan where you're sitting there, you're at home watching on the television, no one's saying a word. No one's talking. Everyone's just looking at the TV, appalled at what they just saw. And that's why we love that's why we love sports in general. Like those type of reactions, you got the flip side of things. And then there's Lions fans drinking their coffee, sitting watching from a distance going, "Man, we'd beat both of these teams if we were here." But that's the reality of the playoffs, man.
My correction, it was James Harrison, not Larry Foote. Sometimes I get my Steelers mixed up in my head when we're talking, especially when it's 15 years old. But still, that was a crazy play, and that's what it reminded me of.
Yeah.
And, man, just to swing a game like that, and you never know. Like if the Bengals reach the Super Bowl again, all off of that play, that's an amazing – that's like the Tayshaun block, right?
Right.
You're going to replay that moment as how you got there. But, yeah, what an amazing play last night. I thought it was a great weekend of football, and we get more football tonight.
Oh, can't wait. Tonight is a special. My dad's out in Tampa. He might go to the game, watch Tom Brady. It's his favorite player of all time. So, lucky man. Hopefully you can see Tampa take down the fraudulent Cowboys. Can't wait for that.
There we go. And let me tell you about our friends at Planet Fitness. We did a live broadcast at the one in Southgate a couple weeks ago. Had a great time down there. And you can have a great time at any Planet Fitness for just $10 a month. You can walk in, hang out, do your sit-ups, do your push-ups. They got the free weights. They have a training course that you can take. It's really awesome. Super clean, too, if you're one of those neat freaks. Planet Fitness is the gym for you. Only $10 a month. Planet Fitness, your fitness is essential.
At work and at home, we're there with smarter security solutions. Featuring complete automation with customized alerts and more. For over 90 years, we've been the company that's been counted on to protect what matters most, all with personalized service and care. Right now, for a limited time, receive a free video device plus free installation with a new home system. Guardian Alarm. We protect Michigan.
We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit, but we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side.
Lemieux and McCarty, who've had a good knockdown drag up. There they go, right on the whistle. They were talking to one another.
Woodward Sports.
Hey, if you haven't been down to the Monroe Street Midway, you are missing out. It's tons of fun downtown Detroit. Like we always talk about, you can eat, you can shop, you can play. They got those winter bumper cars, which are always amazing. You can go for a spin. Try not to spin out on the slick rink, and that's brought to you by Rollercade. And it's only $5. You can go in there, just $5, and bump around with each other. You ever do bumper cars?
Oh, I love bumper cars. I haven't done it in a while, but hey, it's fun. Midway. Adam took his nephew there a couple weeks ago. He had a blast.
Did he?
Said he just hated him crying all the time. I say, well, welcome. That's a child. So
how old's Adam's child?
I think his nephew's like 10 or 11.
I could not imagine Adam being like an official parent down at one of these little kids. Hey, get off that slide.
He said verbatim, he wouldn't shut the hell up. I'm like, well, that's not how that works.
That's what kids do. And then you can take them down there. You can send them down the Arctic slide, which is so much fun.
Ooh.
You get in an inner tube. It's 20 feet high. You go all the way down the slide. They got puck putt, which if you've ever seen Happy Gilmore, you know how he putts with his hockey stick. That's what you're doing
Classic,
down there. So
movie.
it's the Monroe Street Midway, downtown Detroit. You get there, hang out, have a great time, family friendly, and it's free to get in. Welcome back to the morning. Well, that was such an odd transition to the Morning Woodward Show right here on WoodwardSports.com. My name is Stick, filling in for Adham today. Adham is on the slide right now, according to Todd Sane in the WoodwardSports.com chat. People think Adham is in the trunk of the car that Fish was just in, that new Camaro behind him.
You're pounding on top.
I mean, I can certainly check.
Huh?
I can check.
You want to check?
Should I?
Fish,
Yeah, please.
Did you finally retaliate against Adham now, or what?
Yeah, is that did you shank him?
I don't know. I mean, maybe. Should I check this trunk?
Should I check this trunk?
Yeah, check the trunk, Fish. I feel like Fish wouldn't let us know where he hid the body.
No, he would not.
I'll check to see if it's back there.
All right, check to see if he's back there, Fish.
Fish is not a snitch.
No.
Let's see.
But he does have that look in his eye where, like, Fish knows where to bury a body.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
How do I open this fancy? Uh-oh. Here we go.
Oh, is it?
And out pops Adham.
Oh, he comes out there.
Fish, can you fit in the trunk? Let's see.
I think he could. Oh, so okay. All right.
So there you go. If you're looking for a new Camaro, you can fit one Fish in the trunk. Can you guys put that on the selling feature on the sticker?
Can fit Fish in
okay.
the trunk. All right, points proven, Fish. We could fit.
Yeah. No, we need him for the rest of the show. Come on out, Fish. Close it, people. People are saying in the chat right now, Fish looking good in the Camaro. Softball slash. Close it, Ethan Brown says. Adam's too big to be in that trunk. Shut the trunk, everybody's saying.
Fish, it's okay. We love you. All right?
I probably could have fit in there.
Oh, yeah, you definitely could fit in there.
Well, I mean, it'd be a tight fit.
Have you ever ridden in a trunk?
What kind of
No, I don't want
question
to.
is that?
No.
No? Like, you guys never did that in high school? Like, hide one of your boys in the trunk or something?
No, because we were all worried about dying.
No.
Or getting
I've been in the back
suffocated
of
or
a
whatever.
truck. Like, you're sitting up there while it's driving. But in a trunk, no, I haven't. I can't say I've tried that one.
All right. Take the mic in there and let
Hey,
Fish
I do
finish
know-
the show.
I do know what you're talking about. That's like people did back in the day.
Yeah. Remember when they used to have drive-ins? People would sneak people in the trunk? That was,
wow, yeah.
That was way back in the day. That's what I heard. I've never been to a drive-in, so that's
You were told.
That's
yeah.
that's what I've been told. All right, Jeff, let's get back into some Lions talk. We talked about Amon-Ra St. Brown, talking about the backfield. The Lions, are they your favorite now to win the NFC North?
I would say yes. And I know when people first hear that, especially people that aren't Lions fans, they'll say, well, Jeff, you got to dethrone the king, right? The Vikings, the team that won the NFC North this year. And I'll make this point, right? The Lions, second in the division, 9-8, 5-1 in the NFC North. I think that's the most important thing to take away as well. Could have been 6-0 if they closed that game against Minnesota. But on top of that, the Lions aren't a finished product. They're going to continue to get better. They have a ton of assets. They have, 4 picks inside the top 40. They have money to spend. Young players are going to get better. Aiden, Houston, Kirby Joseph, Malcolm. All these guys are now going to go into their second year. Game's going to slow down for them. They're going to improve. So if you look at player development, Jared Goff, another year, hopefully with Ben Johnson. Please, may he return. The Lions, to me, should be favorites because of how they played in the NFC North and what the future looks like for everybody else in the NFC North. I don't see how anybody can make a case to me that any of these teams have a brighter future than the Detroit Lions. I mean, you have two teams in cap hell and a team that's the worst team in the league with a quarterback they're not even sold on. We don't even know if Justin Fields is the future. I mean, you're in the conversation now, should they draft a quarterback? If you're having a conversation, if you should draft a quarterback to replace your current quarterback, I don't think you have a franchise quarterback yet. So NFC North, a lot in question. The Lions are the most stable. They got the brightest future, which is crazy to say that, by the way.
That's
Lions
what I'm
are the
saying.
most
Like,
stable.
it's so weird. It's so
absurd.
weird
Yeah,
having these conversations.
I'm not used to it at all.
No.
But next season, with how they played in the division, I think absolutely they should be the favorite. The minimum next year should be a wild card spot. You should be second, maybe a win or two away from Minnesota from winning it. But at the very most, you should win that NFC North next season, I believe.
Yeah, and it's almost sad that it's kind of by default right now. You know what I mean? It's not like the Lions are competing with a great team in the division. And you want that. Like, as a Lions fan, I want that. I want the Packers to be great and the Lions to be great, and we have that battle at the top. I don't want the only time the Lions win the division is because everybody else is bad.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because now we're getting into a Jacksonville situation. Now we're getting into when the Texans were winning their division
Tampa
back.
this year.
Tampa this year, right. And, like, you look at those teams, and yes, they're division champs, but they're not division champs. You know what I mean? Like, they just happen to win their division. So I love that the Lions, to me, are going to be the best team in the NFC North next year. I just wish it was less of a default base because of all the disarray. But that being said, when the Lions were in disarray, Packers took advantage of it. Vikings took advantage of it. Bears took advantage of it. Now it's the Lions' turn to take time and do that to the other teams because we talked about it earlier. Where do the Bears go? Their defense is absolutely dreadful. They built around a running quarterback, which is fine. He has his moments. He'll get you 100 yards a game on the ground, but he can't pass. Dude can't throw unless it's to Jeff Okudah. Like, that's the only good pass he threw all year, right in Jeff Okudah's chest. And then you go over to the Vikings. Lions exposed the Vikings twice this year. Should have beat them twice. Yeah. You know, that field goal, I think later in the season, that field goal gets made. Because the Lions got their kicking situation straightened out. Yeah. Vikings just got exposed by a New York team that the Lions handled easily in New York, too, in inclement weather where the Lions can't win and all of that. And then the Packers. Never know what to think of the Packers. They're a dangerous animal. They're always going to be a dangerous animal with Aaron Rodgers because he could have those flashes. He's no longer going to have the consistency of greatness that he's had, but he'll have games here and there. I'm just happy he takes $60 million from their salary cap. But that's hell for the Packers. They drafted Jordan Love, and they're going to ride him out through his entire rookie contract, never using the guy. That is insane to me.
And they have one of the most expensive defenses that are probably middle of the pack in the NFL right now. The numbers are adding up for the Packers, and we don't even know what Aaron Rodgers is going to do next season. Whether he's there or not, I don't think the Lions are concerned. It's kind of similar, I think, to Michigan with C.J. Stroud. I think Sam Flannel would probably agree. It's like, if he comes back, okay, he's still a threat, but we've beaten him. And the Lions have beaten the Packers twice with Aaron this year. So I don't think the Packers are as big of a threat as they were. I think the only team is the Vikings. But what do you do? I mean, they're in salary cap hell. They got to pay multiple guys on that team. How do you get the defense better? Their defense, I mean, the Lions' defense, you could say, yes, they were bad, especially really bad at the start of the season. But the difference was they had young players that started playing better as the season went on, and the defense started playing better. The Vikings had bad personnel from week one. They just were bad all season. There was no improvement. So, to me, the Lions, they've done it with young players this season. I think that's what this should give everybody more confidence, is those young players aren't going nowhere. Like, these guys are going to be here next season. They're going to be here the season after that. The Vikings have a lot more problems. Patrick Peterson was their best quarter, and he's like 33 years old.
Yeah, he was getting burnt all day, too. Penalties called on him.
And I'm not saying the Lions secondary is all that, but the point is they have assets to go and fix these problems. So the Lions, to me, with what they've done with young players, the assets they have, I mean, they're going to be just fine. And those guys beating the Packers at the end of the season, it was essentially like a playoff game, playoff environment.
Yep.
They have all that experience to take into next season. They have confidence. See, it's different when you're 5-1 in the division. Next season, you face the Bears. You're like, we swept these guys last year twice. We blew them out at home. So the confidence, I think, for the Lions is at an all-time high. And as they should be at least, if not the favorites, a close second next year to take home the NFC North.
And it's not just next year.
Oh, for the next
season. The Lions have
season.
A 5-year window right now to dominate this division. I'm talking 5 years, because think of how long it's going to take the Bears to rebuild. It's going to take them some time. The Vikings, like you said, salary cap hell. Their team's falling apart. Aaron Rodgers is going to rip the heart out of the Packers, and we love you for it. All the abuse I've taken from Aaron Rodgers early in his career, it's all starting to pay off now that he's abusing the hell out of the Packers like he is. Just demolishing that franchise, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
But the Lions have a 5-year window right here, right now, to dominate this division and become what we've seen others be for a long time.
Mm-hmm. And on top of that, and I made the case earlier, no one really talked. You have the best quarterback in the NFC North. Like, you do. That's the reality. Out of all the quarterbacks, he's better than Kirk Cousins. I don't care what anybody says. Kirk might have made the Pro Bowl, but Jared had a better season. And head-to-head, he beat him, it was 1-1, but
split,
really,
yeah.
I mean, come on, let's be honest. Juju Hughes blowing that big play to KJ Osborne, you kind of had that in the bag. And that was during the time where Jared Goff was struggling, right? The last 8 games, 15 touchdowns. Last 10 games, I believe, 15 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Now, another year under Ben Johnson. You got Jameson Williams next year. I mean, this Lions offense, the big thing for me is the defense. If the Lions had any let's say a top 15 defense, what would the record look like instead of 1-6? Because the offense was clicking from the start.
Undefeated. Undefeated.
See, I love
Best
the
team ever.
But they'd be much more improved.
Yes,
and
100%.
This question of winning to get in would have never been the case if they had a good defense. So the defense improves, the offense stays as it is. They're the most complete team in the NFC North. And they're going to be the best team, in my opinion, in the NFC North.
Well, let's stay on defense because there's a guy that I think me and you would both want on the Lions defense that they could potentially add. Mm-hmm. And Brad Holmes may have an inside track on this guy. So we're going to talk about that coming up right here on WoodwardSports.com. But let me tell you about the Lobster Food Truck. My goodness, I think about this more than I should. I think about it in ways that I shouldn't, but the Lobster Food Truck, scan that QR code that's on the screen right now, and you can find out where they are going to be. I'm actually trying to pull it up right now on my phone, and that's it. They're everywhere. I mean, they're out in Walled Lake. They're out in Romeo. They go downriver, and if you're looking for delicious, buttery, awesome lobster that you could just put in your mouth and love, that's where you got to go. Cousins Maine Lobster Food Truck. Scan that QR code right now or go to cousinsmainelobster.com.
As chilly weather approaches, Big Boy's got the perfect comfort meals for you. Try our hearty classic meatloaf or our creamy Cajun chicken Alfredo. These will be sure to leave you craving for more. How about breakfast? Our stuffed potato pancakes are back with our lumberjack, blockbuster, and Santa Fe Garden. These potato pancakes will definitely fill you up. Whether it's for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, come stock up on the perfect comfort meal today. We'll see you soon at Big Boy.
My name is Lee. I've lost 35 pounds on the Custom Health Center program. So the 3 biggest benefits that I've gotten from this program has been I'm not snoring anymore, I have a lot of energy, it's great, and oh, by the way, look at this. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding.
Call us at 844-789-THIN or visit CustomHealthCenters.com for a free consultation and get started for as little as $5 a day.
You have an opinion? Make sure it's seen and heard. Corner, jumper, tweet us, hop on the YouTube chat, slide in the DMS at Woodward Sports on all social media.
Ooh, you like meats? The Butchery has you in Sylvan Lake. You drive by, and they have Sylvan Lake, Kego Harbor area, and they have delicious sandwiches. I had a steak over the weekend. I didn't get it from the Butchery. It was tough. It really ruined my experience. I thought I'd do myself a favor, make myself a nice steak. No, I went to the wrong spot. You got to go to the Butchery, get that Wagyu so it's nice and smooth and buttery, and your knife will cut right through it. Only at the Butchery, inspired by our boy, Chef Dave. Welcome back to WoodwardSports.com. This is the Morning Woodward Show. My name is Stick, filling in for Adam while he is out interviewing for head coaching jobs. That is one of the rumors that is going around in the WoodwardSports.com chat. Jeff Iafrate on the stage. Fish is here. Alex Westfall. Flannel Sam in the back as well. Plus, we got Big D Energy coming up next as we broadcast live from Feldman in Novi. We were talking about the defense for the Detroit Lions. What could be added? The Lions will have some cap space this year. Next year is when the Lions have like $90 million in cap space. I think it's actually up to over 100 now. And I'm sure they're going to increase the cap to then. So the Lions may have like $120 million to spend in 2 years, which is absurd. Insane. Yeah. Especially with all these young players that are still going to – we're going to have another rookie class, another Brad Holmes rookie class ready to go. And I cannot wait to see what they do. But this offseason, the defense. We know it's the defense. I've been on record as saying you do not spend any draft capital on offense, period. You attack the defense. One way to attack it is with a cornerback. That's pretty damn good.
Yeah, one of the best in the league. Now, he didn't have the best season until the end. I mean, you watch him early in the season. Jalen Ramsey struggled, but the Rams weren't very good on top of that. So, love Ramsey. He's a competitor. He's a trash talker. I love the energy he brings, the passion he plays with. I mean, even in a throwaway season for the Rams, I mean, he was talking trash. he was playing. He was trying his hardest. Even in the last game against Seattle, he was really playing his ass off. So I got a lot of respect for Ramsey. The problem I have with Ramsey is financially. And you just said, yes, the money's going to clear up for the Lions. They're going to have tons of money to spend. But what happens when Amon-Ra St. Brown comes up, Penei Sewell comes up? These guys start. James Houston, now that he was on the practice squad and he came back, he doesn't have a 4-year rookie deal. It's a 2-year, and then you're going to have to extend him. Jared Goff, you don't know what you're going to do with Goff. Does he get another extension? There's a lot of things that are on the line in the future. I mean, with a lot of these rookies you draft, because Brad Holmes can find talent, but the problem is when you find talent, you got to keep the talent, and you got to re-sign them. So, in my opinion, I as much as I love Ramsey and he fits a need right at corner, they're one of the worst secondaries in the NFL, and you're bringing a veteran who can show Jeff Okudah and show these guys how to be a pro and how to prepare for some of the bigger games. I mean, Ramsey now a Super Bowl champion. I just don't know if I want that cap hit. I really don't. I mean, Jalen Ramsey in 2024 or 2023, excuse me, he's going to be a $25 million cap hit. And the following season, it's $26 million, and then 22 and 25. But still, that's a ton for a guy that is good, but I just don't know if you're going to get some of the best football of Jalen Ramsey. I think that's kind of in the past in his career. I just don't know if I pay him $26 million to do it. When Brad Holmes, he's shown us he can find some guys. Maybe you can find a good corner. Maybe you can go sign a James Bradbury for a fraction of that cost. But I don't know. I'm just not in love with the contract Jalen Ramsey has. I think that's probably where I separate, especially when you have young players coming up the books that you got to extend in the near future.
Yeah, I'm not so worried about extending people because for everybody that we're going to have to extend, there's going to be like Trey Flowers contracts that fall off. So they're going to have that extra money to re-sign people. It's just perpetual. That's how the NFL is. And for a guy like Jalen Ramsey, you really got to measure, is this guy going to be the shutdown cornerback to take away half the field? If he is, that's worth $25 million to me. If he isn't, no, we're not paying that to get him here. But you look at the Lions defense this year, and I think we can say the defensive line is in good shape.
Yeah, I would say
of all three levels, that is the one place you don't necessarily have to take care of, mostly because you did it in last year's draft. You got Aiden Hutchinson, you got Houston, you got Pascal, who actually showed out in the last game a little bit with 2 sacks. And you got Bugs that you got to re-sign. That's one guy that I think is high priority to re-sign is Bugs. He did a great job in the middle. I don't mind them going out and spending a little over market price for a guy like Jalen Ramsey. Because like you said, not only is he a great player, he's that emotional leader that can come in and be a part of this team. I do have a little bit of caution for what he did when he was in Jacksonville and, it was kind of I need to take my ball and leave if I'm not getting everything that I want. I kind of shy away from those guys, but I don't shy away from talent.
No, and I think that's probably the overwhelming argument. If you're going to say, well, Jalen Ramsey, one of the better corners in the NFL, he would help this team. I think he would take the secondary up a notch. I agree with that sentiment. But the problem is, if you're looking at numbers and you're looking at Jalen Ramsey, he's about to be 29 years old. So he's getting, if you have him, if you're paying him in, let's say, 2024, he'll be 30 years old making almost $27 million. And we talk about Goff and how his contract compared to other quarterbacks isn't that bad. $30 million. Jalen Ramsey, at 30 years old, will be making almost just as much as Goff. That's and again, deserves the money, deserves to get paid. But is that the Lions' problem? Now, if they can work out something to where the Rams pay a portion of that contract and you get them at a discount, maybe you can work a deal out. But with the numbers I'm seeing, it doesn't sound attractive to me. I think you can find ways to have a good secondary without going out and getting Jalen Ramsey. He's gonna take up, it's projected 11% of the cap in 2024. It's a lot of money for Jalen Ramsey, who's 30 years old. So if I'm getting that same production, maybe, but not all things are promised. Last season won't be next season, those type of numbers. So it's a tough one for me. I'll probably lean no because I have a lot of faith in Brad and him to find talent because he hasn't really addressed corner. We've seen him double dip with defensive line, double dip with different positions. He hasn't really chased a corner. All he's gotten so far is Chase Lucas.
I think they were hoping that Jeff Okudah was going to be the number 3 overall pick, and they didn't have to spend more capital on that.
But we don't know. Brad might be good at identifying corners in the draft, and I'm willing to wait for that because I do like the corners coming out of this draft, and you'll pay them a fraction of the price.
That's one thing about having a competent GM that makes you feel good about any scenario, really. Yeah. If he goes and gets Jalen Ramsey, you know that he's seeing something that the team needs, and you can trust him to go get him. If he doesn't go get a Jalen Ramsey, you understand that, okay, there's a bigger plan in place. And now I think we've all established that trust where, yeah, we can be worried about losing an Amon-Ra St. Brown down the road. But you also got to understand that maybe 3 years from now, right? Right. And by that time, who else has Brad Holmes drafted? Is there the next Amon-Ra on the way up? Granted, you're not going to pull a bunch of Amon-Ras out of the 4th round. Yeah. I don't think that's going to be a typical thing, but we can trust that Brad Holmes will replace and replenish and have the talent in place.
I love this comment Rad says, WoodwardSports.com. The Detroit way. Let's get the knockoff version of an elite player.
Is that what you're calling Jalen Ramsey? The knockoff version of an elite player?
I love that sentiment. It brings me back in the day with Reggie. Bring it to old Reggie. When you signed Reggie, it's like, oh, Reggie, here we go. And then it's like, all right, you got production out of Reggie, but to his point, you're kind of getting worn down versions of essally those elite players.
Or we can bring up Josh Smith.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
man. Remember when the Pistons signed Josh Smith to like $400 million? And I think he just came off the books 2 years ago.
And I love this comment, too, Wes. Brad found Jerry Jacobs as a UDFA. He will find somebody.
And that's true.
Yeah, he's found some guys that weren't even looked at. I mean, we'll talk about not just corners, but defensively. Bugs, Kamitsky, guys that were cut from the previous teams. Brad finds them in their perfect culture fits. I think that's probably the end, the final say with Brad. Is he a culture fit? Will this guy fit in with what we're trying to do? Does he fit with the timeline? And if all those questions are yes, I think Brad will pursue him. But if not, and the money doesn't make sense, I don't think Brad will make a decision like that. I don't see Brad, as much money, he's been trying to be conservative, and then you just go out and get Jalen Ramsey, who's making $25 million a year. Doesn't really make sense for Brad. He hasn't shown us he would do that, but maybe he could. Maybe he feels like, hey, let's be aggressive. You know, I feel us on the brink of competing for a Super Bowl. Jalen Ramsey's the final piece. I just don't think he is yet. I think there's still some work to do, and I'm going to let Brad address that in the draft. So I'm not paying for Jalen Ramsey. I'm sorry. But that's certainly an argument if you want him.
Yeah, it's just nice to have somebody in charge that you can trust, right?
That's it.
No matter what Brad Holmes does, to me, it's going to be the right move.
And whoever the player is, you got a coach you trust to be able to develop him and make sure he's going to be in the right position. So I love it. Now, Jalen Ramsey playing with AG. I think he would love AG. 2 corners, 2 great corners. That'd probably be the best situation. But
you got to love Shepard as the coach, too,
and
man.
Shepard over there. I mean, they got a good defensive staff. I like what they got. But
did you guys talk about that last week, about the Lions coach that was going into the elevator at Lambeau and yelled?
Was that Shep?
Nobody knows who it is. That's the thing. It's just a rumor that there was a Lions coach heading into the elevator at Lambeau and yelled, "You can't lose to that team 3 times in a row." And one of the Packers coaches was like, "Oh, that's real classy." And he's like, "It was your quarterback that said it."
Yeah,
like, I'm just quoting Aaron Rodgers here,
right.
But we don't know which coach said it. Like, I'm thinking it's either Deuce Staley or Shepard.
Those two I feel like are the loud, like, I'm gonna talk my ish.
Yes.
You're gonna deal with it. Yeah.
And I would assume Shepard, though, because it's a defensive thing, right?
For sure.
Like, they take pride in shutting down Aaron Rodgers.
Definitely. Either way, I mean, those guys, coaches are sometimes just as petty as players, especially coaches that were players.
Yes.
Like, there's a different element with that. I mean, Shepard and AG and Deuce, all former players, they got that dog in them. And I'm telling you, Aaron Rodgers, he said it.
Mark Walston in the WoodwardSports.com chat saying it sounds like Shep would say that. Other people, Steve is saying, I'm almost positive it was Deuce. Either way, it's just nice that we got coaches that are, letting the Packers know about it when you go into their house and keep them out of the playoffs.
I love it.
The Lions haven't had too many of those moments, so you got to let them know about it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of been the mold of this Lions team is all these former players as coaches. They want to suit up. I mean, those guys are passionate. And it's made for great football, man. These guys, especially the players and how they've developed, love what they're building. Love the coaching staff, and the Lions are on their way. Packers, watch out. We're coming.
Well, you brought up coaching staff. Something popped off over the weekend comparing Lions coaches. We need to discuss that coming up next right here on WoodwardSports.com. But first, tell us about SMA,
Let me tell you about them. The sports marketing agency helps spread awareness about mental health and substance abuse. Their new podcast, This is the S Word, helps fight the stigma about seeking help. If you or someone you know is struggling, tell them or yourself to head to thesportsma.com for more information.
I love Woodward Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Beverly Hills Golf, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Introducing the Planet Fitness Guide to getting that post-workout glow. Step 1. What's your why? More epic energy? Better sleep? Blow off steam? Step 2. Join Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving in our clean and spacious clubs. Step 3. Bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month.
Join today at any of the 50-plus Detroit area locations.
The only sports network in Detroit that starts with a W. You know, because we win. Woodward Sports, Detroit's winning sports network.
Jeff Iafrate here. Let me tell you about our friends at the Fulling Warehouse in Hamtramck, because if you think you're better than Jared Goff, go to the Fulling Warehouse and test out your skills. They got 2 to play for $12, the unlimited open play, or you can pay $120 and get a party going with up to 10 people. They have the $2 mystery beer machine, full bar. Check it all out, fullingwarehouse.com.
Welcome back to WoodwardSports.com. It's the Morning Woodward Show live from Feldman in Novi. Make sure you come on out, say hi. We're going to be here till about 2 o'clock today. Darren McCarty showing up a little bit later to do his show, 11 to 1, with Neil Rule and the one, the only Terry Foster. So stop on in, and while you're here, pick up a new car. You know,
why not?
They make it that easy. You just stop in, you grab a car.
And they got great deals.
Yeah, and they got trunks where fish can fit in them. I'll tell you what, you buy a car today, fish will come free in the trunk.
Oh, all right.
That's a guarantee.
And you won't find out till you get home when it pops out of the trunk.
Well, yeah, I don't know if the trunk, debatable whether it would close or not.
What?
It's debatable whether it would close or not.
I think we can make
it
it
will
happen.
definitely close.
You have to be in maybe a fetal position, but we can close it.
Adam is out this morning. Some people saying he has the brown bottle flu. That's why he's not here. Some people, there's been some wild theories on where Adam is today.
I'm enjoying Adam not being here. I'm not told to shut the F up today. That's nice.
Yeah, you haven't been told to shut up once, Fish.
No, I know. It's shocking. It's hard. I can't control myself.
You have like some stress by not being abused?
No, I'm just used to getting stuff thrown at me, and it's nice to not have that for a day.
Just the way you said that. I'm used to getting stuff thrown at him. Dang,
yeah,
Fish.
It's nice that I don't have to watch my back, watch my front.
Do you still feel loved, though?
I do.
Okay, good. Yeah.
I do.
I just want to make sure, even though it's a different love, we still love you.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's not a harsh love, Fish.
Yep.
I do.
All right. Get in a trunk,
we
Fish.
express our love without telling you to
You want to get back in the trunk?
Huh?
You want to get back in the trunk?
No, not yet. We'll put you in the trunk after the show. Lyle in the WoodwardSports.com chat. Adam picking up, quote, draft prep. Ethan Brown saying Adam is getting treated for his gambling addiction.
That's believable. Now that's believable.
Yeah. When Adam's quiet, you know something's up because he's normally bragging about his wins.
Yeah.
You don't hear much about the losses.
No. I mean, even the Monday following the Michigan game, I was upset because I had to shave my head, but I don't think I was as upset as Adam, who lost some dollars on that Michigan
How's
game.
that hair coming back, man?
There we go. Oh,
Alex,
it's not looking bad.
It's looking fine.
Yeah, not bad.
It's looking fine on
it's
screen.
Like, even though it's short, I'm training it to go. Oh, God, what is going on up there, man? Put the hat back on. We're done here.
Adam's been up all night chasing unicorns. Jeb Large saying that in the WoodwardSports.com chat. But speaking of bets, we had some people ask in the WoodwardSports.com chat. Pat McAfee owes Detroit a show.
So tell me about that. So, because I'm waiting for him to acknowledge it. I don't keep up with the Pat McAfee show, but I haven't seen the clip yet.
Yeah,
him talking about that show in Detroit.
Well, Aaron Rodgers took last week off. I don't know why. Apparently, he.
Oh, we know why.
Yeah,
he's butthurt.
Yeah.
That's why.
That's what I'm going to assume. But apparently he's going to be on tomorrow, and that is when I expect the Pat McAfee show to address the bet that they had with myself and Woodward Sports. And if you didn't hear...
Have you had contact with Pat McAfee?
We have had contact with them.
Like after last week's game?
Like after this. Yeah, more Foxy than McAfee.
Okay.
But they know that they got to do a show here because we bet if the Packers beat the Lions, I would wear an Aaron Rodgers
And
jersey.
you would have done that
for a year because I'm like you, Jeff, a man of my word. When I say I'm going to bet, I man up to it. I would have hated it every day of my life for a year, but whatever.
Why didn't you do 6 months?
I figured I had to offer up something big enough to like combat them finding logistics for 20 people for a hotel, making sure they have equipment, making sure like for them to do a show here, that's a big ask.
It is.
Right? So if me saying, I'll wear a jersey for a week, it's not really a fair bet.
No. But I'd say 6 months is like the cutoff.
So, okay, well, I went with a year just because it was simple. Well, they responded and said, you know what? Yes, let's do this bet. TJ Lang can get involved. We'll come here. We'll do a show for charity, and we're still waiting to hear from them. I'm assuming they're men of their words. They seem like men of their words.
Yep.
If they don't come to Detroit, then we will start a different campaign. And we will let Twitter know that some people man up when they make a bet and some people welch and hide.
Yeah.
Now, Pat McAfee, I believe is a good man. He's never given me any indication that he would be a welcher on a bet. But if it comes, let's say, I'll give him another couple weeks.
Okay.
And if we don't have more clear resolution on when this is going to happen, we will make that announcement too, and we will let Twitter know to let them know that their apology that they placed for the Detroit Lions, because if you didn't hear why this all got started, Pat McAfee went off when Aaron Rodgers was on the show like 2 weeks ago because Dan Campbell shot down an interview with them, said that Detroit was hot dogging them, they were big timing them, and he went on and on and on, and he was like, my mic is going to be hot on Monday, so you better hope that you win. Well, they won, and then Monday, crickets.
The mics were cold.
His mic was on, but he wasn't saying anything about looking like a fool.
No.
So he issued an apology on Twitter, but the real apology would be manning up to your word, coming to Detroit, and let's do this damn thing.
And I feel like Foxy, they must have addressed it before the show, because I feel like if I'm Foxy and that situation was had, I would have brought that up on the show. Been like, hey, Pat, by the way, Lions won.
Yeah.
And you went off last week about the Lions, and they took care of business. That's all I'm saying.
I gave them last Monday because of the national championship. They were broadcasting from there.
Yes.
You know, like they had big things happening, and I'm sure that was a lifelong goal for them to be sidelined. So I knew it wasn't happening Monday. But now that we're sitting here another Monday removed and we haven't heard much, we've heard a little bit. It's like, all right, guys, all right, boys, because I would have had to wear that Aaron Rodgers jersey, and I would have done it.
Yeah, and I like to always say, you got to keep that same energy. If the Lions would have lost, Pat McAfee, we all know Pat McAfee on that Monday morning would have went off. The Lions, this is what happens. We tried to have you on the show. You chose not to. You ended up losing to Aaron Rodgers anyway. Same old Lions, whatever the case may be. Maybe this isn't the brand new Lions. And we know Pat has showed love to the Lions this season. But with that sentiment, how he reacted to Dan not going on the show,
yeah.
I mean, I didn't agree with it. I thought that was a little over the top. But at the end of the day, a bet's a bet. And if Pat said, hey, I will come to Detroit if the Lions win, and they win, you can't go silent. Because if they would have lost, he wouldn't have been silent. So I don't think that's fair either.
Yep, and I love the saying, the apology should be as loud as the offense.
True.
And if you're going to go on for 2 minutes on your show, talk about Detroit, talk about how the Lions, big timed you, and then just put out a little Twitter apology, that's not the same thing. You need to go on the air, use the same amount of airtime to apologize and say, you know what, and we made a bet with Woodward Sports in Detroit, and we're going to come do a show.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see when they get here. If you guys want, go on Twitter and let them know. We're waiting. We're waiting.
Yeah.
Just tweet them and make sure you tag Woodward Sports in it as well, and we'll make sure that the word gets out there.
Mentions. He'll see it.
And that's what you got to do, right? If they won't do it themselves, then the court of public opinion is going to have to come in, and the pressure, because that's what forced him to apologize, was how hard Detroit hit him through Twitter. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was whoa, guys, I'm sorry. Like,
and it was guys with like 1,000 followers. He was getting. I mean, he was picking on tweets that weren't by big name guys. He checks tweets. He'll see your guys' tweets. If you address Pat and say, "Come to Detroit, Pat, own up to your bet," I'm sure it'll come out. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm with you. I'll give him another week or two. But
yeah, they're busy, man.
If he doesn't say one thing about it, we got to figure out a way to do it. I think it'd be great for the city of Detroit. It'd be great for Pat McAfee. And hey, don't knock it till you try it. I think they'd have a blast if they found a venue and they did it in Detroit. Man, it'd be amazing.
And that's the thing, we got it. Like whatever venue you need, we got it. Like whatever hookup you need in this city, we got it. Like we got it. And the thing is, I'm sure they're going to want to come back for the draft when it's live here in 2024. Don't let that be the first time you show up here.
No,
with welching on a bet. That's all I'm saying. Don't let that be the first time you show up in Detroit.
Because you'll hear about it. We'll be down there telling them about
it's a year and a half removed of us building up this thing. So do not. I'm telling you now. I'm telling you, do not let that be the first time you show up.
Yeah, no question.
But yeah, it's fun to have that banter back and forth, and it was especially fun when the Lions pulled that off. Because about halftime of that game, I was sitting there freaking out about having to wear an Aaron Rodgers jersey.
Yeah, and if anyone knows anything about taking time to fall through with the bet, it's me. And eventually I did it. But at the end of the day, for the reasons I did my bet and I owned up to it and I shaved my head, are the same reasons that Pat McAfee needs to come to Detroit and do a show. So, Pat, I believe in you. I got faith in you. But, Foxy, you got to help us out. You got to convince Pat a little bit on the side and give us that little inside information. But other than that, hopefully Pat comes to Detroit. I think it'd be great.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun time. We'll take him. We'll show him a good time. We got a big Super Bowl party coming up that we're going to tell you guys about. But first, let me tell you about Lady Jane's, where you can go get your haircut and look wicked awesome. I need a haircut, so this week I'm going to Lady Jane's.
How do you not?
My girl, Alyssa, she's going to do me up real good. A nice little 2 on the side, nice little fade, maybe a little shoulder rub, a little scalp massage. Because, you get treated like a king at Lady Jane's. So you can walk in anytime, sit down. It's wicked awesome.
Hey, it's Sean Jordan from the Sports Marketing Agency. And SMA wouldn't be who we are without our amazing partners.
Thank you so much, Sean. At Detroit Wayne, we want to serve as a resource for you and your families. We offer mental health services, substance use disorder services throughout our communities, and we want to be that source and resource within the community.
If you or a loved one are suffering from a mental health or substance abuse issue, please don't hesitate to call 1-800-241-4949.
You don't have to go to the beach, man. You don't have to get your butt crack full of sand. You just need a little chili peppers, man, to get that glowing beach chili peppers tan. Woo!
With 26 locations in the Metro Detroit area and more coming, Chili Peppers Tanning is where you'll find the cleanest salons in the D. Join the Pepper Club for the best deals on unlimited tanning. Head to chilipepperstanning.com.
You just need a little chili peppers, man.
Woodward Avenue, the first paved road in America. Woodward Sports, the first sports network born in Detroit and made for Detroit.
Matrix Home Solutions. You got me, Westy. Hey, Fish, just for good times, shut up, please. Love you, buddy.
Okay, I will.
Someone said to do that in the chat, and I wanted to. But Matrix Home Solution is your go-to for any home project. If you're looking for a new man cave to watch these NFL playoff games in, they are the ones. They also specialize in bathrooms and kitchens, and they got that A-plus rating by the Better Business Bureau. So call 888-594-8844 or go to matrixhomesolutions.com.
When you tell me to shut up, you got to act like you mean it.
I can't be mean to you like that. You're just such a fragile little creature. I don't want to hurt you. I want to protect you and feed you and keep you in a cage or something.
I mean, Adham seems to know how to do it well, so maybe take some notes from him.
I just can't be mean to Fish.
Just the way you said that.
I would never.
Fish, he just wants to keep you in a cage, Fish. That's all. Feed you a little bit.
Out of protection, keep him in a cage.
Yeah.
Though.
Keep him away from harm.
How about this? Not a cage. I want to put you in a bubble.
Okay.
Is that better?
Okay.
That sounds a lot better.
That sounds a lot more fun than a cage.
By the way, do you remember? Do you remember someone reached out to you about sending me this?
Do you know one from Canada?
Yeah. Do you know who got this for me?
I'll have to search my emails.
Because the package didn't say the name. Didn't say a name where it came from.
I remember getting the email asking about it. What does that shirt say?
Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Nice.
Ooh. From Regina.
From Regina? I love Regina.
That's the name of it.
You eat some poutine in Regina or what?
Yeah, how do you not?
Okay, just making sure. Good for you, Fish.
Very close to some other things. You love poutine.
But hey, that's the actual name of it.
Big fan of that poutine.
Oh, big fan.
Have you had poutine in Canada?
In Canada, yeah. I actually had it at McDonald's in Canada, too.
Oh, okay.
Not great.
Oh.
But better than American.
Okay.
Yeah. You know who has really good? Detroit Wing Company.
They do?
It's amazing.
Really good poutine.
They do, but you got to get in Canada. It's
yeah.
Tim Hortons also
Fish
go down
does love Regina. Good job, Fish.
Can't get enough of it, to be honest.
That's where they're located.
So over the weekend or last week, I put up an article on woodwardsports.com comparing Dan Campbell to Jim Caldwell and why 9-7 was good enough to get you fired, but 9-8 is celebrated in this city. And I titled it, and it set people off, right?
Yeah.
Clearly, the people that got set off didn't read the article.
No, not at all.
And that's what I really love about when we throw something up on our Twitter or Facebook is the people that react to how I title it, not react to what's in the article. And the article was explaining, because I'm a Jim Caldwell guy. You know this.
You are.
I defend Jim Caldwell around our building probably more than anybody, right? But I can understand why Dan Campbell is getting flowers for 9-8 and Jim Caldwell didn't for 9-7. I think it was the dumbest thing in the world that we fired a head coach when they were 9-7 here in Detroit, because it's more like, who do you think you are? That 9-7 is you're the Detroit Lions. 9-7 is good enough. But at the same time, different circumstances, different praise. Mm-hmm. Dan Campbell came in, took over a Matt Patricia team that was at the absolute floor, probably below the floor.
The basement.
Yeah. And like Sheila came out, mid-season, was like, this wasn't a rebuild. This was a total demolition.
Yep.
And to get them to where they are year two, you got to give that man his flowers.
Oh, no question. And it's different circumstances like you alluded to. I mean, Dan Campbell, you start 3-13-1. You haven't won a game on the road. Again, a team that's super young, and then you follow it up with a very young team, and you go 9-8. And I think that's the bigger thing to take away from it is they did it with a ton of young players, guys that are rookies in their second year. They have veterans, a little bit on their offensive line at quarterback, and a couple guys on their defense, but they did it with mostly young players. And with Jim Caldwell, right, you peak at 11-5, you lose in the postseason, and then 7-9, 9-7, 9-7. Now, I don't think anybody's sitting here celebrating 9-8 like, it's the end-all, be-all. Now, there's certainly progress that needs to be made. I think you could start having that conversation if Dan Campbell next season, let's say he goes 9-8 again, or he goes 8-9, whatever the case may be, and then he follows it up again with another 9-8 season. I think then you could start being like, what are we doing here? Because if we fire Jim Caldwell for going 9-7 in 2 consecutive seasons, why the hell are we keeping Dan Campbell around for going 9-8, 8-9 in 3 consecutive seasons? Right now, I don't think the comparison is even close, because Dan's doing it with a team that's still kind of in a rebuild and they still have a ton of holes. But I can see why. I mean, the Jim Caldwell conversation, that'll never go away. I mean, for as long as we live. Because of the mistake of hiring Matt Patricia afterwards.
There's that, and it will if Dan Campbell supersedes what he did.
Right.
Because that's the thing. Like, when you're talking about Jim Caldwell, you're talking about the best winning percentage of any Lions head coach in the last 50 years.
Yeah.
Better than Wayne Fontes, who everybody thinks is the best coach in the last 50 years. I mean, you got to go back to the 30s to find guys that had better records than Jim Caldwell. Jim Caldwell took the Lions to the playoffs 2 out of 4 seasons, 50% of the time. I'm taking that as a Lions fan.
Absolutely.
Right? You got to get in the dance to win a fight. Did he lose both those games? Yes. Did he ever win a division? No. Those are knocks that you can have on him. But the simple fact of the Lions' floor used to be 9-7 in a playoff berth, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, it's a great floor to have. A lot of teams wish they had that floor. But and I love the point that Funky brought up, because this is also a big part of it. He says in the YouTube chat thread that 9-7 was arguably the ugliest 9-7 ever. 7 of those wins needed game-winning drives against sub-500 teams.
I don't
Caldwell.
care.
But the point I'm making, too, is Dan Campbell with this year, you're 9-8. When they're hitting on all cylinders, they've blown out teams, good teams, like a Jacksonville Jaguars who won their division, blew them out, took care of the Giants on the road, took care of Minnesota. Like they've beaten good teams, went toe-to-toe with the Buffalo Bills on Thanksgiving. There's things that the Lions showed us this year that are just different, right? Even from the top, Sheila Hamp, now Sheila Ford before Sheila Hamp now, she's proven that she's at least different from Martha in previous regime, her family, her parents. So it's just a different atmosphere with this Lions team. They didn't have Brad Holmes with Jim Caldwell, I'll tell you that, because they botched on a couple of those draft picks. Remember, Eric Ebron was the top selection when it should have been Aaron Donald. Like, there's so many misses that I think Brad, he's not going to have. He's going to be able to find talent. There's things that are just different with this regime currently. But, I mean, to Funky's point, that 9-7, I mean, I get you what you're saying. It's still 9-7. It didn't look the same as this 9-8 because they came back from 1-6 at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, and Jim Caldwell actually had a season that was almost the exact opposite of this, too. They started out 5-0 and then kind of crapped the bed down the stretch, and you would obviously want a team trending up than trending down. So I get it. I get the misnomer, and I get the conversation to be had. And on the surface, though, you can have this conversation. Why was 9-7 bad and 9-8 good? If we're just looking at those two variables, then you can have that conversation. But there's a lot more context to it. There's a lot more nuance to it. What Dan Campbell has taken over and turned this team into, I think, is beyond anybody's expectations.
And I love this comment, too, by Stephen Baffey. I don't think Lions fans are so much celebrating 9-8 as going 8-2 after starting 1-6. It's how they finished the season. It's still 9-8, but they were one of the hottest teams in the NFL down the stretch. I mean, that's something that you didn't really say about Caldwell in those 9-7 seasons. They were a 9-7 team, but they, like Funky said, they had to fight for a lot of those victories. The Lions took care of some teams, like absolutely destroyed them. You could name probably 3 or 4 games this year. It's different context, but if you want to bring up why Jim Caldwell was fired, I don't think that conversation will ever end. I mean, if they would have gotten the head coach right after Jim, let's say Matt Patricia was an excellent head coach, I think it'd be less of a discussion. But the fact that he stunk, there comes that convo.
You can't fire 9-7 then go win 3 games next year. You just can't.
No,
you can't. Like, especially then you bring in a guy that guts your culture too, treats media poorly, treats your players poorly, trades away your best players, drafts guys out of urgency, not out of long-term planning. It was just a total nightmare. And yeah, you're right. Bookending it with a Matt Patricia probably makes the problem even bigger. But if Dan Campbell outperforms, we're never going to have the Caldwell conversation again.
No, and I don't think Sheila would fire him after going 9-8. Let's say 9-8. Now, if it gets too stagnant and you're not going anywhere, there's not progression. I don't mind moving on because I don't mind having expectations like, hey, we're 9-8 and we love it, but there's another level we want to get to. I think that's fair, but you better hope that next hire is a home run. And I don't think Dan Campbell ain't going nowhere the next couple seasons. That's why he signed a 6-year deal. He's here for the long term.
And that's crazy. I was thinking about that over the weekend. Tell them about Cintron, Jeff.
Let me tell you, because, guys, you know what gets me up in the morning is a great can of Cintron. They have them at the office. I'm addicted to them, and they're the official energy drink of the Red Wings. They've combined all 3 of their delicious flavors. They have cranberry, original, sugar-free. You can get a Cintron 6-pack sampler box at cintronworld.com/Red Wings. Get energized with Cintron.
What's a winter wonderland if you can't shop, eat, and play? Lucky for you, you can do it all at the Downtown Detroit Markets, Cadillac Lodge, and the new winter version of the Monroe Street Midway, all located just across the street from Campus Martius Park. Find the fun at deckedoutdetroit.com.
Hi, I'm John from Better Rate Mortgage, and to me, family is more than blood. That's why I have the biggest family in Metro Detroit. If you're looking to buy a house or refinance and need a loan, come get treated better than family by me and our entire team here at Better Rate Mortgage. We pride ourselves on giving you better advice, better service, and a better loan experience. That's why we are Better Rate. If you're looking for a new mortgage, come get treated like family. Actually, better with Better Rate Mortgage. Visit us at mybetterrate.com or call at 248-480-4467 today.
And a miraculous catch.
Follow us everywhere. Just search Woodward Sports on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, IG, and more.
Let me tell you about our friends at Alta because, guys, at Alta, uptime matters. Alta equipment is as everything you need to get the job done. If you have a big project coming up, Alta Rent has you covered. Call them today, 844-GO-TO-ALTA. That's 844-GO-TO-ALTA today.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show, live on woodwardsports.com. Thank you guys for being a part of the show today. Now time to get the woodwardsports.com chat rolling with Mailbag. If you guys got a question that you want to ask myself, Jeff, Mr. Fish, or anybody, just let us know. Jeff, you got anything over there rolling?
Yep, Dad says in the chat, named Dad with Tourette's, interesting name. Love that, man. He's always in the chat. He says, let's play pretend. Pretend next season we're 9-8 or 8-9. And I love the second part. Do you fire Dan Campbell and promote Ben Johnson head coach?
No.
Not just after one season of doing that. I don't think that would be fair. We need context. Like if Jared Goff goes down next season and you go 8-9, I don't know how much really you could put that on just strictly Dan. I think you need some context in that. Now, if Dan's the reason why you're losing a lot of these games, I don't know. Maybe we can have a conversation.
I mean, if you're talking 9 wins again, no. I mean, no. You can't fire the guy, mostly because he's in the middle of a 6-year contract. This would be year 3 of the 6-year contract. And what's crazy is, I was thinking about that. When we first signed Dan Campbell to a 6-year contract, it's like, man, that's a long time. Now you're like, this guy's finally getting it going. He's only got 4 years left. We better re-up that contract.
Yep. That's what it's all about. And we got another question, too. Question Paul asked, Jeff, will Goff continue to play well without Ben Johnson? I think so. Obviously, Ben Johnson has done a lot for Goff, and we can all say that. But at the same time, I don't think it's all Ben Johnson. I think there's other factors that play into that, like Goff's experience. He's playing with the most confidence. Yes, you like the rapport he has with Ben, but you can credit Mark Brunell. I think Dan Campbell has a lot to do with the game plan. If Ben were to leave, I wouldn't sit here and say, well, Goff's screwed. I don't think that's fair to Goff. I don't think that's fair to anything. I have trust in Dan to hire the next offensive coordinator that has a similar philosophy than Ben Johnson, and maybe Goff can keep up that play. I think it'll take a little bit of a hit. I mean, it's tough. Ben's been really the most impressive offensive coordinator this year, but I don't think it'll, Jared Goff's career now is in a downward spiral if Ben Johnson leaves. I don't think so.
If this was a situation where Jared Goff was never successful before he got to Detroit and then all of a sudden had a turnaround and be like, oh, man, that's all Ben Johnson. But let's not pretend that Jared Goff didn't get to a Super Bowl.
Right.
Let's stop. This guy was talented before he got here. Do you sometimes get in a good relationship and you click, and that's what's happening between Ben Johnson and him? Yes. Are they better together than apart? Probably yes. But, yeah, Jared Goff can perform. You got to get him in the right set. Play action passes are got to be the focal point of your offense with Jared Goff as your quarterback.
I love this. Eric Allen asked, what are your thoughts on trading back? How far are you willing to go back, and what would you be looking for to get back for that pick? I actually brought this up last week. I think that's the strategy if I'm Brad Holmes. You're looking at the field. You're looking at who's behind you. A lot of teams that need a quarterback. If you have that pick and you have the Las Vegas Raiders, the Carolina Panthers, the Tennessee Titans, and they call you up and say, hey, we want to move up to where you're picking to take a quarterback, and the Lions don't need one, why not get more assets and you still get a similar tier type of player that you like, even if you took him at 6 or 7? So I'm all for Brad Holmes trading back. I think that's the right. Now, if someone falls and you like where he's going to be at, then don't trade back. But Brad Holmes with more assets, it's always enticing to me.
In Brad Holmes, I trust.
There you go.
Give this guy whatever he wants. If he wants to trade up, I think it's the right move. He wants to trade back, I think it's the right move. He wants to stay pat, it's the right move. You know why? Because Brad Holmes is making it.
There you go. There you go. Ryan asked Mailbag, what Detroit franchise is closest to a championship right now?
It's funny because at the beginning of the season, or actually last year, we had this conversation. No. Some people actually picked the Tigers.
Oof.
Red Wings seem to be the popular pick. They've come into a rough stretch right now. I think now you would have to argue that it could potentially be the Lions. And the Lions, I always pick the NFL team because you can go to worst from first in the NFL faster than any league. No matter if you're horrible the next year. Look at Jacksonville. They got a shot. They got a shot now. Are they going to win it? Doubtful. But they got a shot to win it.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I think it's the Lions, and second we have the Red Wings. I would still put them second in that list. Adam believes the Tigers are closer than the Pistons.
I would say Adam is smoking a little more than hookah this morning. What? How?
His philosophy is he doesn't look at Chris Ilitch and the Tigers. He goes baseball. He goes, in baseball, it's much easier to turn around teams if you have a good general. And I'm like, no. This isn't baseball.
No.
This is Chris Ilitch and the Detroit Tigers.
It's just pure mathematics. There's 9 players on a field, right? And then you need your pitching rotation. Then you need closers. So you got to complete a team of about 15 to 20 players to compete at the MLB echelon top level.
And what promising
in the NBA, if you get one superstar, you're competing.
Yep.
So it makes no sense. You need so many more pieces in baseball. The Tigers had the best hitter potentially of all time in Miguel Cabrera. They never won a thing because he's only one guy. Baseball is such a team sport like that. Basketball obviously is a team sport, but you get that one star, you can win.
No doubt. I'm with you. The Pistons at least have promising young talent.
Look at the Bucks. Look at the Bucks.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to go to Milwaukee, but they got Giannis, and he's they're a championship team with Middleton being there too.
And we got Real Cream of Wheat says Tigers just need to learn to hit the ball. The Pistons need to learn the whole side of the game called defense. I think the Tigers need more than just.
So you're saying the Tigers need to learn offense, the Pistons need to learn defense.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
You know what they both need? To score more points than the other team.
There you go. That's a
if
great.
they just did that, they would win.
That is, you know what? I love that take, Stick. I really do.
It's a hot take.
It's Tim Darga asked Mailbag who should replace Dwayne Casey because he needs to go. And I've said this. I've pretty much had the same opinion as I had early in the season. I'm not going to attack Dwayne because I know Dwayne isn't going to be here like next season. There's no point.
It's just going to be in the front office.
There you go. And that's
Dwayne's not going. People who want Dwayne Casey gone, don't hold your breath. Dwayne Casey is a major part of this. Troy Weaver and Dwayne Casey are like this. Yeah. They have a plan. That's why they brought the G League here to Detroit. They have a system that they want to get in place. So think of Dwayne Casey more like Brad Stevens for the Celtics. He's just going to move on up.
Yeah, that's how I see it as well. And I think when it comes time, if I had to give you candidates, I think it'd be a stretch to say Ime Udoka. I don't know if that's a realistic option. We'll see how Troy Weaver feels about that. But you got a ton of guys, assistants around the league, maybe assistants on Dwayne's staff that he's going to interview. But there's a couple guys. My dream scenario has always been Chauncey Billups. I just don't. That's not likely. But that was my fantasy coach for the Detroit Pistons. Imagine Chauncey back in Detroit. It'd be amazing. Another mailbag. Do the Lions host a playoff game next year?
Oof. Oh,
I don't know. I would say yes. I'm going to put it on the line here. I think they win the NFC North. If not, there'll be a second, and the Vikings will win it, but there'll be 1 or 2 wins right behind them. Maybe they get in as a wild card, but I think so. I really do.
I don't know, but if they do, I am going to be downtown going absolutely insane.
Yeah,
I cannot wait for that to
Regardless,
happen.
they'll be in the playoffs. Hosting it, we'll see. We'll see what moves are made this summer, and we can come to that conclusion before the season. What do we got?
Got one more, Jeff.
Now people are just talking about the Tigers are now the conversation.
That's all right.
Here we go.
It's 10 o'clock. We got to wrap it up. Mitch is just saying hi, Stick and Jeff. There you go. Let's wrap it up with that one.
All right, there you go.
Mitch, we appreciate you and appreciate everybody that was a part of the show this morning in the WoodwardSports.com chat. We are live from Feldman in Novi. Going to be here till about 1 o'clock today. Big D Energy up next. Terry Foster, Neil Rule, Darren McCarty, all broadcasting live from here in Novi. Stop on by and say hi. Adham may be back tomorrow. He may not be. It depends on if he gets that head coaching job for Carolina.
We'll make sure he's back.
Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you too. Have a great day. We will see you tomorrow.
Go watch all the sports. How do you not? Big Monday.